Aita for locking my girlfriend out of the basement so I could eat in peace. I am 39 and male, my girlfriend is 41. We have lived together for a bit over a year in my house. During the time that I have lived with my girlfriend, I've become very used to the fact that she really seems to de-stress by complaining. Much of this complaining is about other people in her life, such as her mother and her former coworkers, but much of this complaining is about me and how I'm not meeting her expectations in one way or another. I'm generally fine listening to her rant and will make all the appropriate motions to show that I'm listening, but a few months back, her complaining increased significantly in frequency. Again, I'm happy to listen to her, but one time that I do not want to listen to complaining is when I'm eating. Breakfast time isn't an issue because she's still asleep when I eat it, and lunch time is fine because I work 6 days a week and am out for lunch, but I would really love nothing more than to just have a quiet dinner. It's especially irritating because she gets upset when I don't answer her fast enough, even when I'm chewing. She'll start saying, "Hello? Hello? Hello? Are you even listening?" as I try to swallow the food quickly and answer her. I expressed this to her a few months back. I put it as nicely as possible, with the excuse that I don't do well with talking during meal time. If anything, it has had the opposite effect. I'm convinced that she's actually timing her complaints to begin when I start eating dinner now. While I'm making my dinner she'll be quiet, and when I sit down waiting for it to cool she'll be quiet. But once the fork reaches my mouth, she'll immediately start complaining. Last Saturday, I told her that I couldn't deal with her complaining during dinner time anymore, and that if she did it again I would start eating elsewhere. She responded, "Yeah, okay, fine." Then she sat down at the table and stared at me. When I took my first bite, she said, "Oh, by the way, today you kicked one of my shoes when you were putting yours on. It made me feel like you only care about your own things and not mine." I stood up and went down to the basement to eat, locking the door behind me. I've taken to doing this for every day since, and she'll bang on the door at times. At other times she has demanded I give her a key, as I have the only copy. Today she was literally crying and begging me to eat dinner at the table, but I said no. Now she's threatening to take the door off its hinges while I'm at work, so I know I have to lock it from the outside before going tomorrow. Am I in the wrong here? Comments. Commenter 1. Why are you with someone this miserable? I cannot imagine listening to someone complain every mealtime. All day, every day. Are you really going to do this for the next 20 years or more? Yikes. NTA. Commenter 2. It's not even about her being miserable. It's more about her engaging in emotional abuse. A partner who constantly complains and blames is abusive. I can completely understand someone might want to confront a partner for one reason or another at times, but the fact that she actually decided to go into a tirade about him accidentally kicking her shoe when he put his own shoes on just shows she'll complain about literally anything. There's also the fact that even after he asked her to stop for the short time it takes him to eat dinner, she completely ignored him and intentionally timed her complaining for when she knew he didn't want to listen to it. I cannot understand why some people in this post seem to think OP is wrong. I know this doesn't apply to you, but some people are suggesting that this is his fault. The man is in an abusive relationship. Commenter 3. The time to leave was ages ago, but now is the second best time. When someone threatens to take a door off its hinges, the relationship is over. Commenter 4. You locked her out of the basement. That's a good first step. Now do the same with the rest of your house. Commenter 5. Be careful or she might threaten to take the front door off its hinges too, lol. Commenter 6. He better takes that serious, as she sounds like a professional of unhinge. Update. Wow, I didn't expect this to blow up the way it did. I posted honestly just needing a sanity check, and I got thousands of comments, some incredibly supportive, others brutally honest, and a few that hit me harder than I expected. Thank you to everyone who responded, seriously. A lot has happened since the post. First, yes, I did go ahead and lock the basement door from the outside before going to work. I wasn't proud of that move, but I was feeling cornered, and honestly just tired. I came home and found she had removed the hinges from the interior side while I was gone. The door was off and leaning against the wall. That was a moment. She wasn't yelling, she was sitting on the couch, visibly upset, and just said, "So this is where we're at now." We had the longest, rawest conversation we've ever had that night. She admitted she had started using dinner as her emotional dumping ground because she knew it would get my attention, and she felt like the only time I slowed down enough to be with her was when I was eating. Her words. She also admitted that my request to stop complaining during dinner made her feel like I was putting a timer on her feelings. I told her I wasn't asking her to be silent, just for a break from the emotionally heavy stuff while I was trying to decompress from my own day. There were a few tears on both sides. I told her that I love her, but I can't live in a state of constant emotional defense, especially not over dinner. I also said that the shoe comment right after our talk was weaponized pettiness, and that it was cruel. We agreed to try something new. Now we do venting hour after dinner. Literally. I even set a little timer, her suggestion, not mine. Dinner is for unwinding and connecting, or even sitting in comfortable silence. After that, if she still needs to unload, I give her my full attention, and she gets to talk freely. So far, it's been a surprising success. It's not perfect. Some nights are awkward. But the basement is just a basement again, and the door is back where it belongs. We're also looking into couples therapy, not because we're failing, but because we finally agreed it's okay to get help before things fall apart. Thank you again to everyone who responded. Even the tough comments helped me realize that choosing peace for yourself isn't immature, sometimes it's the most adult thing you can do. Comments. Commenter 1. Now we do venting hour after dinner literally. I even set a little timer, her suggestion, not mine. Believe me from experience, you're going to get tired of her spending an entire hour complaining and talking only about herself quicker than you think you will. The only way that venting hour will work is if it's a venting hour for both of you. Commenter 2. What does she have to vent about for an hour every day? She needs to look at her life and make some changes if this is the norm. Commenter 3. NTA, I would dump her. Someone trauma dumping on you every day is toxic as hell. Stories number 2. Aita 4. Uninviting my brother and nephew from my celebration dinner. Backstory, my sister and I, early 30s, have an older brother. He's on his second marriage. His first marriage gave me my nephew, Connor, 15. Connor is autistic. When he was born, my, at the time, sister-in-law's family was the village. My parents were also the village. My sister and I were not. This resulted in many arguments until I told my parents they could either have my brother and his family and I would go and see, or they could respect my boundaries and I'd still be around. They agreed. Eventually, my brother got a divorce because of marital problems, one of which was his ex-wife insisting that I and my sister step up and help. I felt bad for him, still do, but I wasn't going to change my stance. My sister didn't either. I have lived out of state for a bit and recently accepted a new job offer close to home. It came with a nice bonus, so I decided to invite my parents, sister, and brother out for dinner at my favorite KBBQ spot. My parents confirmed that it wasn't my brother's week with my nephew, so all was well and good. About a week before I got back home, my brother called and said his ex had something come up and that he had Connor the upcoming week and his current wife was going to be out of town with her sisters. I said no worries, and asked if he wanted to call his regular babysitter for Connor and I'd cover it for our dinner night. He said no, he wanted to bring Connor to the dinner and asked if we could change the venue because Connor gets overstimulated. I said no. This was my dinner, I'm paying for it, I'm going to my favorite place. He said, you know, your nephew really can't handle a place like that. I said yes, I know. That's why I'm offering to cover paying for a babysitter for that night. He argued that he'll just bring Connor with him. I said he's welcome to do that, but then I'm not going, so it'll just be him and our parents. He told me that was messed up, that if Connor gets overstimulated, he'll just take him and go outside until he calms down. I reminded him the last time we went to a KBBQ place, Connor had a meltdown and they had to leave. My parents always feel bad for Connor, so they'll usually leave and go to my brother's house to help. I said I didn't want that happening. I wanted to have a nice dinner without having to worry about that. He told me to go fuck myself and hung up. We went to dinner, my sister, my parents, and I. My brother did not show up. It was a nice dinner. My parents enjoyed it too, but they said they wished my brother had come. I agreed. They then said they wished my nephew had come too. I did not agree. I said it would have likely resulted in my brother leaving after maybe 30 to 40 minutes of being there, and they would have followed him too. They agreed, but said I should have let him come anyway and just deal with it. I said that sounds like a good reason for me not to do that, and we didn't talk much that night after that. Edit. Somebody suggested I post it here. I've babysat Connor before, even now I will watch him for a few hours if my brother has to do something. I don't watch him all day or overnight though. It's not his fault and he is no way a bad kid. However, I had to set boundaries because my parents and brother, mostly his ex-wife, would take a mile if you gave them an inch. They wanted my sister and I to stay local after high school so we could help with babysitting, and I was not about to do that. I did see both of them before I left, since I wanted to, but I did not apologize for wanting to eat my favorite spot and have it done my way for just one night. Whenever he, my brother, wants to have to dinner, we basically go to the same local spot because it's quiet and doesn't upset my nephew, and it's his fixation when it comes to food. That's perfectly fine, and I go to those dinners, but for my dinner, I wanted it somewhere I enjoyed. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Can't believe they expected you and your sister to limit yourselves and stay near them to resize their child. That's some entitled shit. Reply, I did sometimes feel bad, because my ex-SIL's family really stepped up and helped and my parents did too. But neither of us wanted to give up going somewhere else for school and life, because my brother had a kid. That didn't seem fair to us, and I didn't want to put my life on hold for that. We're normally pretty good with each other, but it's only when stuff like this pops up that I get into it with my brother and parents. Update 1. First, I wanted to thank everybody, positive or negative, for giving feedback. Whether it was good or bad, I did read every one of them, even the ones who called me an asshole. Totally valid. While I did see my brother and Connor before I left, it was more of just playing with Connor and making small talk with my brother. I decided today to call my brother to try and get more info and smooth things out. We talked for about 5 minutes before I broached the subject. I told him I was sorry if it felt like I was being unnecessarily mean or exclusionary to Connor, but that I felt I had a right to decide how to celebrate the way I wanted to. He said he was sorry that he snapped the way he did, and looking back, he realized Connor would have had an awful time and it would have been a big waste of money for me. The place we went to was about $80 a person, $40 for Connor whether he ate or not. He just really wanted him to be there too. I told him going forward, for things like my birthday, I would be more than happy to have lunch as a family with Connor at somewhere he likes so he can have a good time, then go to dinner at somewhere I want to eat at and I'd pay for a babysitter or his mom, my brother's ex, can watch him. He asked if Connor would be welcome at the dinner too, and I said I don't think so because I still plan to have KBBQ hot pot sushi fine dining and Connor doesn't do well in those environments, light sound smells atmosphere, which is why I brought up having lunch the day of beforehand so we can all celebrate and it be okay for him. But I was still standing firm that for my birthday, or something like another promotion, I wanted to go somewhere that I enjoyed without having to worry. I brought up also that when he took us out to lunch, was once a month before I moved, he picked or my parents picked and they always catered to Connor. I had no problems with that and attended almost all of them. This time, I wanted something for myself. He wasn't over the moon about it, but said it sounded good and thinks Connor would enjoy it too. He also looked into getting him sunglasses, as one of you suggested, for bright overly stimulating environments. He then had a question for me, which I knew was going to be asked at some point. Now that I'm closer to home, he asked if I was going to be more involved as an uncle. I said yes, but not in the way he probably wants. I said I'd be more than happy to go over to his house and hang out with him, his wife and Connor and bring food he likes, as well as babysitting him once or twice a month so he and his wife could go see a movie or have dinner together, but I wasn't going to be an on-call babysitter like my parents are. Several times he's dropped Connor off at their house for a weekend with little notice because he and his wife wanted to go on a spontaneous vacation. I told him that was not going to happen with me, especially since I'm in the process of adopting a cat and he and Connor are allergic. I wasn't allowed to have a cat while I lived in my parents' house, which was fine because it's their house and it wasn't fair to my brother and Connor who were over super often, so him getting dropped at my new place was out of the question. He thankfully didn't press the topic and said it's okay, mom and dad don't mind and that he missed hanging out with me and was happy that I could be around Connor more. So, everything worked out as well as I could have hoped. I'm excited to move back home in a few weeks, and thank you all again for the advice criticism. Relevant comment. Commenter 1, I am glad things worked out well. I hope they have always been working with specialists for Connor so that he has the change to be as self-sufficient as possible. I get a tiny bit of a vibe that his mother and father, maybe because he just went along with his ex-wife, babied Connor and never tried to get him help to adjust better to the real world. If Connor is incapable of eating at a normal restaurant, how is he going to get a job to support himself? If he can't do that, is your brother making plans for a permanent adult group home for Connor? One day your brother is going to die and it is best if he makes plans way before that happens and transitions Connor as much as possible while alive so that he can adjust. Reply. If he can't do that, is your brother making plans for a permanent adult group home for Connor? That is the case, yes. His specialists have said they don't believe he'll ever be able to be independent as he is effectively nonverbal and still very prone to meltdowns despite the best efforts of my brother. Update 2. Hi, me again. Was hoping I wouldn't have to post here again, but well, life had other plans. I, 31M, moved back to LA from Texas for a new job. My parents live here, as does my brother, 40M, his wife, and my nephew Connor, 16. Connor is autistic and while he's made a lot of progress since he was 10, still struggles with a lot of things. He is nonverbal, stims often and frequently has meltdowns. My brother, his wife, his ex-wife, and my parents are the only ones really able to calm him down. I regularly watch him once or twice a month so my brother and his wife can go see a movie or hang out. I do not watch him overnight or for several days consecutively, and it's always at their house. After our argument last time, my brother and I have been on pretty good terms. He hasn't really pushed boundaries about babysitting and we've mended our relationship quite a bit. However, something came up recently that has us on rocky terms. My brother recently got news that he was selected to attend a conference out of the country. The company is putting him up in a hotel for 10 days, and while they won't pay for his wife to go, they have no problems if he pays her airfare and everything and occupies the room with him. I'm very happy my brother got this opportunity. The issue is child care. The conference happens to align when my parents and sister are going to NYC for a week to celebrate my sister's birthday. Nothing is refundable, and my parents promised my sister this over a year ago they'd do this. His ex-wife, Connor's biological mother, will also be out of town for work. So that leaves me. When he called me up to explain everything and ask, I told him no. However, I listed reasons for why I wouldn't do it. I live about 90 minutes away. Distance-wise, not that far, but LA traffic makes a lot of things more difficult than they should be. I don't mind making the drive once or twice a month when I'm watching him, but I do not want to make it 10 days in a row. Connor cannot come to my place because I have a cat and he is allergic, as well as me having things around the house that are fragile. I do not WFH, and Connor would still be in school, so I would have to likely put in PTO to do it logistically. The longest I've watched Connor was about 6 hours. He had a meltdown near the end that I was unable to calm him down from, and it was only my brother and his wife getting back 20 minutes later that saved me. I cannot picture myself doing it for 10 days straight. This one might sound really selfish, but I don't want to set a precedent. If I watch him overnight even once, I know my brother and his wife would push it on me again. I don't want that to be a thing. I'm happy with our arrangement of me watching him once or twice a month and hanging out with him with my brother and our parents. That being said, I would not hesitate to watch him during an emergency, but that is a totally different story. I explained this all to him. He wasn't happy. He went off on me about how he thought me being back would mean he could rely on me for this. I have said before, I am not an on-call babysitter, and his wife would really like to go on this trip. I said I'm sorry, but I'm not doing this. I said I would be happy to go and help her on the weekend he's not here and hang out with Connor, to give her a break, but I'm not going to risk my own mental health for 10 days and use 8 days of PTO to watch him for a non-emergency. He had a few choice words for me and hung up. He got my parents involved in the family group chat, and they surprisingly were on my side. They said it would be a really nice gesture if I did it, but reminded him that I've never watched Connor overnight and his wife doesn't have to go on this trip. He hasn't really talked to me since. I feel bad for his wife not being able to go, but I also don't trust myself to be able to handle Connor for 10 days. Relevant comment. Commenter 1, it's so strange that it's not the bio mom's problem. Isn't she sharing the responsibility? Reply, she had let my brother know months in advance that she could not be able to take him for a 5-day period because she will be working out of town. This was a recent development for my brother, and it was during his time with Connor. Commenter 2, NTA, at all. So, LA has some of the best resources for both kids and adults like Connor. Your brother should be in touch with his local regional center. I know many parents who are hesitant to use it, but one of the services he should be able to access is respite care with well-trained caregivers. 10 days is probably way too much to start with, but it would be a good idea for them to look into those options. You might not be the right person to talk to your brother about it, but your parents should. It's important for Connor's future to be able to function with other people, and his parents need to start that process as soon as possible. Reply, both my parents and I have encouraged them to seek stuff like that out. Unfortunately, while my brother's wife, and his bio mom, are okay with him being at school and having therapist aides over to help, they are not comfortable with letting anybody else look after him overnight and for that long. Commenter 3, Connor has 3 parents: your brother, his bio mom and your brother's wife. They are the people who have primary responsibility to take care of Connor. That ALLL 3 of them want to go off for 10 days at the same time and none of them want to stay with the kid makes them the AHs. It's their responsibility to ensure that one of them is there to look after their child. It's wild that after all these years of you saying your brother keeps pulling these stunts on you. You set your boundaries way back when you were in HS about not being a co-parent or on-call babysitting service. What are they still not understanding about your consistent NO? Reply, his bio mom will only be gone 7 days. But it's also not during her custody time and she had let him know months in advance. I think he thought I'd flounder, and that maybe being around Connor more often would soften me up. He was sort of right. I do enjoy spending time with Connor versus when I was younger, but I'm not willing to give up my freedom and personal goals to regularly be called upon to be a babysitter. I quite like my arrangement. Is it possible for OOP's brother to take Connor with him? Reply, taking him isn't an option. His bio mom will not allow him out of the country, per their custody rules, and the last time he went on a 45-minute plane ride to SF, my brother described it as the longest 45 minutes of his life. I cannot imagine what 10++ plane ride would be like. OOP's brother and his ex-wife have to figure out the childcare plan for their son. Reply, I agree. If I had to guess, his wife is gonna stay home. He's going on the trip, and his ex is going on hers, so that leaves his wife to stay home. Which she obviously doesn't want to do, but it ain't gonna be me. Update 3. First, thank you to everyone who provided advice. I really appreciate it, and it helped know that I wasn't out of line. I messaged my brother. I said he has two options. Either he and or his wife stay home and watch Connor, or he works with the local agency's care facilities. I apologize if I'm not using the right terms, to get respite care for him for as long as they are gone, and I check on him during the weekend. I would not be watching him, and I will not hear him out in regards to that. He called me and his wife got on the line and said that I know how she feels about other people watching him overnight, and how his mom feels too, and she's never been to this location before and it's on her bucket list. I said I'm aware, and that I'm assuming in that case she'd be staying home with Connor, and maybe she and my brother can take Connor there in the future. My brother tried to interject and I cut him off. Said I really don't care what he has to argue, I'm not here for it. As some of you suggested, I again pointed them towards local organizations and government entities dedicated to helping parents with children with special needs, but didn't really get anywhere. I was really burnt out over everything, so I said good luck with the situation and hung up. I made a group chat with him and his wife and told him that, going forward, I will be visiting them once or twice a month. Meaning, one of them has to be there when I'm there. I'm not watching Connor alone anymore. I feel like this is a good compromise, letting me still hang out with Connor and also not being a caretaker. I told them that, maybe in the future, we can work back towards what we had before. But not anytime soon. They both wrote back paragraphs on how they were sorry but they had no other choice and thought maybe I'd do it for them, that this could be like a second honeymoon for them, and to please keep watching him for a day or two a month. That they'd even pay me for it. I told them no amount of payment is worth it. It's not fair to me, it's not fair to Connor. He is not my son, he is theirs. That they need to start working with agencies now, and get him accustomed to care and other people watching him, because our parents are getting old and soon they won't be an option. My brother responded that he and his wife will start the process, and get his ex involved too, but if that doesn't work, what are they going to do? I told them that it's on them. I'll happily join them in researching organizations and benefits, but if they have an inkling in their head that I'm going to do for them what my parents do, they are out of their minds. His wife asked if I would consider getting training and learning how to care for Connor like they do, and I shot that down. I am more than happy to be the fun uncle that drops by and hangs out, but I value my independence and I won't let that be compromised. Both of them eventually just gave me thumbs up emojis. His wife said she was going to stay home with Connor and not go on the trip, and said they'd see me in 2 weeks to have a hangout. We'll see what happens then, but at the very least, I'm not on the hook for watching him, and someone that can calm him is. I will do my best to keep pushing them to expand their circle and seek out other options and programs that help them with Connor, as I think that would greatly benefit the quality of life of all of them and prevent a situation like this from ever coming up again. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, just don't go visiting when he's due to leave. They'll claim a date night and come back after 10 days. Reply, I happen to have a randomly placed out-of-town getaway around that time. Smiley face. Commenter 2, has your brother and his family made any plans for your nephew's long-term care? What happens as they age, or die, and can no longer care for him? Reply, they are working on that, but they're still in the "we can handle him" stage, despite things like this showing they can't. Stories number 3. Entitled Lady demanded my laundry machine time like it was a timeshare. So I, 20F, live in a shared apartment complex where we all use the same laundry machines in the basement. It's first come, first serve, and everyone kind of just respects that. Except this one lady who just moved in 2 weeks ago. She literally stormed into the basement while my stuff was in the washer and goes, "Ugh. You didn't sign the schedule." Me, what schedule? Her, I made one. We all need to start taking turns. Man, what she whipped out this handwritten laundry schedule like it was a holy scroll and tried to convince me I had to give up my machine because I wasn't on the list. I told her no one agreed to this, and the property manager literally said we don't reserve machines. She stood there arms crossed like I'd committed war crimes, then muttered something about kids having no respect. She ended up waiting the full 30 minutes just to glare at me while I transferred my clothes to the dryer. Congrats, I guess. Welcome to the building, laundry tyrant. Stories number 4. Aita for calling my wife a jerk for telling our son's crush that our son likes her in front of his friends, posted June 1st, 2025. I, 37M, have 3 kids, 14M, 11F, 8F, with my wife, 37F. Our son, who we'll call Sonny, is in grade 9. My wife is asking him if he has a girl on this grade 10 girl, Tina, 15F, who he's been hanging out with. Sunny said it's not her who he likes, it's a different girl. A ninth grader who will call Chris, 14F. My wife asked Sunny if Chris knows. He said no and that's it, a secret. My wife asked why. He said his friends will make fun of him. My wife asked why. He said it's because Chris the heaviest girl in their grade, she has terrible skin, and she's a tomboy. One Saturday, Sunny had friends over. It was Sunny plus 5 other boys, with Chris, Tina, and another girl. At one point, my wife just walks into the living and she tells Chris that Sunny has a huge crush on her. It was so uncomfortable after that. Chris got up, and just walked out of the house. The kids barely said everything and they left earlier than expected. Sunny didn't say anything to me nor his mom, but he made sure to slam every door he used. Later that night, in bed, I called my wife a jerk. She said she was trying to prevent our son from becoming a bully. I told her there was a better way, then she asked what if one of our daughters were in Chris's position. Then she asked, if we went to same high school, would I hide my feelings for her? She ended sleeping in the guest bedroom. Am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I don't get how Sunny is potentially being a bully. He likes a girl that is heavy, terrible skin, and a tomboy. He doesn't want his friends to know because he will be bullied, and likely Chris, too. I think he's protecting her. Did I miss something? Reply. My wife probably got reminded of how kids treated her back in the day. She was a Chris herself. Commenter 2. Was anyone treating Chris unkindly? Reply. To my knowledge, I'm not exactly sure. My son didn't say that anyone was making fun of Chris. Chris was friends with some of the popular kids, of grade 9 and grade 10. Commenter 3. I think your wife just put a target in Chris's back. And your son's as well. I am so sorry. Wife really needs to apologize and stop creating a problem where none exists. Reply. I don't know what's going on with my son's social circle because he's giving us the silent treatment. I know it's just him and Tina at Tina's house right now. My son didn't even tell us he was going, he left and then asked Tina's mom to tell us that he's there. So the friends are not together. Commenter 4. There is no innocent or rational explanation. Also, when you asked her why she did it, her response was literally, to stop him becoming a bully. It wasn't, oh I thought if she knew he liked her it might break the ice and help them get together. There was zero good intentions there. She made that clear with her answer of why she did it. Even if she's been bullied as a kid for weight and skin issues, why would she then bully a kid who was like her? Sadly sometimes kids who were bullied and abused become the abuser. They try and get their sense of power and control back by hurting those weaker than them. They want the victims to feel what they felt. Or they become the opposite and are kind and understanding and wouldn't put anyone through what they went through. I know this seems like a big leap for what may just be one incident, but it's a big incident. Doing that in front of 9 of his friends was like ultimate savage and cruel. She wanted to humiliate your son in a huge way. And that girl, no loving mother would do that in front of 9 of their son's friends, including the girl he liked. You need to talk to your son about whether she's treated him badly in any other ways physically or emotionally or mentally etc. when you're not home. Cause that isn't the actions of a loving mother. If she didn't intend to cause upset, she'd have gone after the girl when she went to leave and apologies if she upset or embarrassed her, said it wasn't her intention, she just wanted her to know he liked her and she thought it might help get the conversation started etc. She'd have made sure the girl wasn't upset and apologized etc. And I bet she's not apologized to your son either, because she's not sorry. She doesn't see anything wrong in what she did. And that is the serious issue here. There's light teasing with your kid about a crush or GF, but to humiliate him like that, and the girl is disgusting. You need to do some talking with your son about their relationship, and be his support and have his back on this one. Your wife's a major AH. She should be on the couch for a while at a minimum. Reply. I'm starting to get more cynical of my wife's motives. I made her aware of this post an hour ago and crickets from her. I'm trying my best to not think that my wife wanted to just humiliate our son just for the sake of it. Commenter 5. You need to get more used to it though. Because that's what it is. Has she even tried to apologize to him? Has she tried to understand why what she did was wrong? Has she shown an ounce of regret or remorse? I'm guessing all the answers are no, because she doesn't care that she's upset, hurt, and humiliated her son. She doesn't care that she's hurt and humiliated and bullied a 14-year-old girl to the point she walked straight out the house, and likely cried for ages. She doesn't care that her son likely hates her right now, has no trust in her, feels like she's betrayed him and his confidence, and feels like his mom doesn't care that he's hurting and upset and humiliated. Because if she felt bad, remorseful, regret, she'd be trying to correct it. But she's not, is she? She hasn't done anything, has she? Reply. The incident happened last Saturday. No apology. Today, I showed her this post. There were some specific comments I let her read, no apology. If I get really cynical, maybe my wife wanted to punish our son for being one of the popular kids and for keeping it a secret that he likes the so-called awkward girl. I don't want to think about my wife that way. Commenter 6. I don't have much to say other than your wife seems like a truly repulsive person, and it's disappointing that you are unwilling or unable to see how horrible this was. She just hurt a lot of people, notably your son and Chris, but also everyone else who had to be around for that little stunt of hers. Reply. Well, at this point, I'm questioning if I really know who my wife is. I guess that's all I need to say about my wife. Commenter 7. It's pretty clear that you don't. Reply. It's extra disappointing given that she knows what's like to be bullied. Commenter 8. Says a lot about her character. Reply. Some of what I said in my replies to you are some of the things I wanted to say in the DM because my wife could be reading my comments. Commenter 9. Why are you still trying to not offend her? Reply. She's still the mother of my children, and I need her to be a co-parent. I hope she loves our children, and I hope she wants them to be happy. I hope she realizes she hurt our son and Chris. I hope she knows that our children love her, and I love her. What happened to her in the past was terrible, but she shouldn't let it ruin the good things she has now. A sad update. The information is sad, and the fact that I had to hear about this from Tina's mom is sad. To nobody's surprise, Chris was indeed humiliated. Chris, at first, thought it was a cruel prank. Then, when Sunny confirmed it, she questioned why his mom would announce it like that in front of all their friends. Sunny took the honest route, and he told Chris why he didn't want to tell her. Chris' feelings are hurt, and she said she can't like someone who was so embarrassed for people to know he likes her. So our son is even more upset with us. What my wife did, showed my son in a bad light to most of his friends. Some of them thought it was a prank. Some of them think something is wrong with my wife mentally. The people who my son is talking to the most about this situation are Tina and Tina's mom. Update, Aita for calling my wife a jerk for telling our son's crush that our son likes her in front of his friends. I, 37M, have some good news and some bad news. My wife, 37F, have read the original post, the edit, and all my comments. I also showed my wife certain comments. She read a ton of comments on her own. I don't know if she'll read this update post because she says she hates Reddit and will never go back on Reddit for as long as she lives. However, she did agree to individual therapy and couples therapy. Back in middle school and high school, my wife was bullied a lot for her weight and acne. She still struggles with her weight and acne. I think she looks beautiful. What I've seen from her personality recently is another story. Last night, my wife said that our son, Sunny, 14M, had body-shamed his crush, Chris, 14F, when he gave the reasons why his friends may make fun of him for liking Chris. To my wife, Sunny merely acknowledging that Chris is heavy and has acne is body-shaming. Even though he also calls her pretty. My wife said she told Chris that Sunny likes her in front of everyone, because my wife was afraid that if Sunny keeps his feelings for Chris a secret that he'll end up with his friend, Tina, 15F. I've been learning a lot about what is going on in our son's social circle, not from my son, but from Tina's mom. The things my son gave Tina's mom permission to tell me. Tina has been working hard to fix her friend group. Tina has convinced Chris to forgive my son and to go on a date with him. Also, when the friend group wants a house to hang out, they'll do it at Tina's house. None of the kids want to come near my wife. One of the boys who was there that day, told his parents and he's not even allowed to go to our house. Tina's mom said her house is always welcome to my son if he needs a safe place to stay. I made sure to quickly tell my wife that Sunny and Chris will go on a date later in the week. I wasn't sure what would be my wife's reaction, and I wanted to get it over with before our son came home. My wife basically said she told me so. She said Reddit and I was wrong. My wife is claiming victory for getting Sunny and Chris together. My wife claims that our son will thank her later. My wife is living in her own little world. This evening, I finally had a significant conversation with my son Sunny. During the conversation, he wasn't referring to his mom as mom, nor my mom, but your wife. He said when he wants to talk to an adult about stupid teenager stuff, he'll talk to Tina's mom. Sunny said he doesn't want to tell me something then give me the burden of keeping it a secret from my wife. Our son is continuing his radio silence with his mom. When I think of my wife's well-being, I have to look at it in the context of my co-parent instead of my life partner. I need to watch her and make sure I'll protect our kids from her if needed. She was a stable mom but somehow she morphed into a bratty teenager just she heard some teenage drama. I hope my wife gets stable again. But my kids are and will always be number one. Update 2, Aita for calling my wife a jerk for telling our son's crush that our son likes her in front of his friends. My 37M wife, 37F, finally apologized to our son, Sonny, 14M, this morning. My wife however loaded the apology with excuses. She mentioned her own current weight and acne. She mentioned she was bullied in middle and high school. She was worried about our middle child. She mentioned that she wasn't sleeping enough. She mentioned that she was drinking too much caffeine. But at least an apology that lists every possible mitigating factors is more like her old self than the brat she was the past few weeks. Sonny just gave his mom a half-hearted thank you. Yesterday was Sonny's and Chris, 14F, date. He hasn't said anything to us, but he seems happy. My wife actually managed to stop herself from asking our son about the date. My wife is acting a lot like her old self. I'm cautiously optimistic, but I'm still keeping an eye on her. Right now, our son and his friend group are at Tina's, 15F, house. They are supervised by Tina's mom. Right now, I am far more comfortable with Tina's mom watching our son with his friends, than my wife. The appointment for individual therapy for my wife and couples therapy for us has been set. I hope things get better. Stories number 5. My 27F, boyfriend, 28M, of 7 years wants to take a 1-year-long break. Me, 27F, and my BF, 28M, have been together since we were 20yo, and for the most part our relationship was pretty good. We can communicate pretty well our wants and needs, so it's been a very healthy relationship. A couple of days ago I noticed something was bothering him and I asked. He said he doesn't feel as good as he used to. He's not okay with where he is now in his life. He doesn't like his job, his economics, his life basically. The only thing he said is good in his life is me, and that doesn't make him feel fulfilled. We've been talking non-stop this past few days, also we have cried too much. At the beginning I was scared because I didn't want the relationship to end, but the more we talk the more I feel I don't deserve this situation. I know is not a me problem, is him, his life, his goals. I cannot think for him, I can't be happy for him. I'm exhausted. At the end of every conversation he ends up telling me that even though he wants to discover himself, the only thing he's sure is that he doesn't want to live without me, but then the next morning he wakes up confused with what he wants again. He's came up with this idea of take a 1-year-long break so he can find himself and then come back to me. I honestly think that's awful, and I told him that I love him so much and probably in a year I will still love him the same, but I don't deserve that. I won't be sitting with my arms folded just waiting. I'll probably resent him a lot, so that won't work for me. If he stays and commit to work things out in therapy, and if he leaves it's done. He said the most important thing for him is my happiness and I deserve a concrete answer of what his choice will be. He wants time to think about it, like a month. But now I'm asking myself, what do I want? Honestly, him pulling this stunt destroyed somehow a little of my trust in him, so I don't know if now should I leave either way. TLDR, my BF of 7 years is confused about what he wants in life and wants to take a 1-year-long break. Now I'm disappointed and asking myself if I should leave him. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. I just don't get the logic. Everything wrong in his life except you, so he wants to throw you out the window too. Tons of people improve their job, finances, and quality of life while they're in a relationship. It can even be helpful to have a for support during so much change. Why does he see you as a barrier to a happy life rather than an enabler? Reply. He thinks that in order to be better he has to be a better person by himself, to overcome his difficulties along, because, in his words, I'll do everything for him. I hooked up in his current job, why make the more money in the house? I manage that finances in order to stay us afloat. I'm the one who has friends, he doesn't have any. So he feels like he's dragging me down all the time because of him feeling depressed all the time. Commenter 2. He doesn't want to take a year off. He wants to break up, but he can't bring himself to jump off the cliff. Reply. I said this to him last night. Maybe he's too afraid to pull the trigger, so maybe I should do it for him. Commenter 3. Are you sure he is not having an affair? This back and forth torture that he is putting you through just screams affair. Update. All the people who said he was cheating on me was right by I didn't realize it up until June, 4 months after my first post. We had long and hard discussions after he said he wanted to leave, we both cried a lot because of that. A month later it was all said and done, we were going to break up and he was going to move away to a place near his workplace, like 1.5 hours from the city. I said that I loved him and he asked me that if he came sooner or later back I would take him back with open arms and I said maybe, but wasn't sure. I helped him pack his stuff and he left. That day I felt my world was crashing down, I cried my eyes out for like a week and the something suddenly snapped and I was sick of the self-pity, so I started to build my life back up again. 3 weeks after he moved he texted me that he made a mistake and he wanted to come back. I said I didn't want that, so the answer was no. Next morning he texted me again saying he lost the place he was staying and he really needed to come back. that he didn't have anyone to provide him shelter, so I took him in. He stayed a couple of weeks and told me he wanted to work on the relationship, but I was very resentful of him and everything we talked I treated him poorly, but then internally regretted it because I didn't want to be an awful person, I just wanted to be in peace. After a month I told him he couldn't live with me anymore and that he needed to move out of my place, and so he did a month later. We lived together a total of 2 months. After he left I started to go out more and meet new people. I got a couple of hookups with some guys and all started to look bright again. One day I bumped into his boss and start chatting with him, and he told me he was glad I was better and that he found weird my ex would want to date a coworker of him, that he advised him against that but he did it anyways. That set an alarm bell for me. Coincidentally the very next day I was at a party and bumped into a mutual friend, but more his friend than mine, and engaged in a conversation for hours. Later when we were both drunk he let slide that he knew my ex was cheating on me since November of last year. Now with the details I called a third person, a friend of him from college that wasn't on speaking terms with my friend since January, and asked why they had that fallout. He told me he didn't want to indulge on cheating and that's why they argued. I kept that information to myself. A week later my ex called me to talk about a debt he has to pay me back, and I told him that I knew what happened and he denied it all. A month go by and my company sent me to the north of the country to work for 1.5 months. During that period my ex called me once a week to cry about how much he missed me and how his life was a mess without me. I didn't reply or answer but couldn't block him since he owed me a lot of money. I came back to my state and start seeing exclusively one guy that was originally a hookup, but feelings started to come out. My ex found out and started to panic again. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that the girl he cheated on me with is now his official girlfriend, so I told him that if he kept on calling or texting me I would tell that girl he's saying he doesn't want to be with her and her kids, so now I feel happier than I was before and didn't realize it. TLDR, he was cheating on me and I moved on. Final comments. Commenter 1. He told me he didn't want to indulge on cheating and that's why they argued. Couldn't be bothered to tell you though, apparently. What an asshole. So I told him that if he kept on calling or texting me I would tell that girl he's saying he doesn't want to be with her and her kids, so if you don't do this anyway you are also an asshole. Don't help this guy cheat. Reply. I thought about that too, about telling that girl, but she was the one he cheated on me with and she knew we were on a relationship. Also if I tell her is inviting the drama to my life again. But you have a point, I'm going to think about it. Commenter 2. Yeah, tell her and block them both. You'd never see the money again anyway and you deserve peace. He will always be trying to get back with you. Stories number 6. Aita for lying about where I was going to college so my stepsister wouldn't follow me. My mom married her husband Mike when I, 18F, was 9. Mike had a daughter called Charlotte who's the same age as me. My mom loved having another girl and Charlotte never had a mom in her life, so the two of them bonded super fast and mom was excited to have almost twins, which is what mom used to call us. Charlotte acts younger than she is, always has. She gets attached and wants to be with someone 24/7 and followed me around the whole time like she was a much younger sibling. She'd do the same with mom too. Mom loved it and would encourage it and she forced me to put up with it. She scolded me regularly when I didn't want to spend time with Charlotte or I was short with her. Mom told me Charlotte was my sister now and I should embrace having someone who loved and wanted me around so bad. I tried to explain to my mom that having Charlotte follow me around and be forced on me 24/7 was making me dislike her and not want to give her a chance. But my mom told me that was a child's wife of thinking about it and 9-year-olds are big girls. Then when I tried to talk to mom about it at 12 she told me I was old enough to be mature and loving and to know the true meaning of family is to love and appreciate those who treat us well, and Charlotte adored me and would do anything for me. I said that wasn't true because she would not leave me alone. Mom hated that I wanted that. We fought a lot when I was 14 to 16 and then I learned to stop speaking to mom. What sucked most was I could talk to extended family and ask for them to try and talk to mom, but it didn't work and my dad's dead so I didn't have another parent to run to. I knew when I was 15 that my mom and Charlotte wanted us to attend college together and they were planning to have us go to the same school. I tried to get Charlotte to understand that we needed the separation and we shouldn't base our schools on each other, but she was set on following me. My mom didn't support me either and she made it a big deal that I wanted distance from Charlotte. So when college talk was happening more seriously I lied about where I was applying to. I made sure all the schools I mentioned to mom and Charlotte were pretty far from where I was actually planning to go. Charlotte accepted where she and mom thought I accepted, but it wasn't. Before graduation I moved into my paternal aunt's house to avoid the backlash that I knew would come. Now the truth is out there and Charlotte's decided she's not going to college at all. My mom is furious and she tried to shame me for the stunt of tearing our family apart. She told me I had a lot of making up to do and I told her in reply that I don't regret my decision. I said my only regret is that I was forced to lie. Mom said nobody forced me to lie and I said they did, by giving me no choice but to accept Charlotte following me. I told Mom I knew either her or Charlotte would have sabotaged me if I openly applied to a school Charlotte couldn't attend. Mom told me I wasn't thinking of what was best for Charlotte, and as an afterthought she said for me. I told her the best thing for Charlotte is no concern of mine. Mom said that wasn't kind and I should be kind. Mom asked my maternal aunt, as in her sister, to talk to me. My aunt did, and she told me she understood why I did what I did, but I should apologize and at least regret lying a little because I interrupted Charlotte's plans with my actions. I told her I did not want to be in the same college as Charlotte and I didn't want to be in the same state as her. My aunt said it was extreme to feel so strongly about it instead of keeping my distance at college. She told me I lied so easily and could have handled it in a far more mature way. She said communication is key. I asked her what good communication was when my mom willingly ignores my communication attempts. Mom was furious when my aunt told her everything I said. I feel like while lying isn't the ideal or a first choice people should use, but I feel like I was left with no other choice. Maybe I'm too close to judge this though, so I'm asking Aita. Stories number 7. She picked her ex and took the dog. I took the money. Guess who came barking back? So my ex and I have been having a really hard time lately. She decided she wanted to go back to her ex and has been AB ever since. We broke up and now she wants everything including the dog, that she never even wanted in the first place. She loves the dog too, but never walked him, hated cleaning up little surprises here and there, and whatever. I wanted the dog, plus I trained him and paid for professional training, so I took responsibility for him and we've been buddies ever since. The problem is that she wants me to move out and wants half of everything. We weren't even married, LMAO. Anyway, the house is a rental but I always paid for it and I was living here before we even started dating. So nope, not today girl. She wanted to move in with her ex because he lives with his parents. But not today. So what did she do? She managed to get inside without being seen by the cameras, since she knows the dead angles, and got into the backyard and called for the dog since the door has that little hole for the dog to go outside whenever he wants. How dumb do you have to be to hide from the cameras but then scream his name? The cameras also record sound, LMAO. So I just went to the police station and they said they couldn't do anything because we're not married and there's no evidence that we actually broke up or that she entered the house illegally. Alright. So I went to her parents' house looking for the dog since she didn't reply to my messages and my buddy heard me and immediately started barking and trying to come in my direction. Her mom didn't want to open the door completely so he couldn't get to me and even closed the door mid-conversation. So I couldn't get the dog. No worries. We had a joint bank account with some savings that we both invested in, even though I invested 80% or more, and we had agreed to split it 50-50. So no dog, no money. I transferred all that money into a crypto wallet and waited 2 days. All of a sudden she remembered my number and asked WTF happened to the money. I told her I invested it in crypto but I could cash it out and gave her a choice. She could choose between getting the money back or keeping the dog. And she opted for the money. Suddenly she agreed to give me back my dog. So she did. But it sucks so bad that unfortunately, I lost all the money thinking face. What a gambler I am, huh? By the way, there are no more dead angles at home. Stories number 8. My husband told me I shouldn't be wearing that because I'm a mom. I'm 28 years old. My husband and I went out with our friends for the first time in a very long time. I wore something risky. Not even that risky. It's a tight dress that's exposed and laced on the sides. He told me that I really shouldn't be wearing that kind of stuff out anymore since I'm someone's mom now. I'm petite. I look good. You wouldn't even be able to tell I had a kid unless if you saw my stretch marks. With that said, why does that matter? No one knows I'm a mom. Unless if I tell them. Like what? He told me it's just not modest and kind of embarrassing. My husband threw out my whole clothes. I call them my going out clothes or night out clothes, but that's what he calls it. I told him he owes me money on new clothes and he said he would take me shopping himself, but I don't want to do that since he's gonna act like my dad and say no to all the clothes I like. I'm not trying to offend anyone, but I just don't want to look like other moms. I have a great body and a good sense of style, staying on top with modern fashion. I'm still young. I want to be able to wear whatever I want while I still look good, and I don't think that's a crime. Stories number 9. My 31M and girlfriend 26F got into an argument after a round of golf. How do I convince her I wasn't being malicious? So I, 31M, and my girlfriend, 26F, just got into a big fight over golf. How do I convince her I wasn't trying to be malicious? Background: so I, 31M, have recently started dating a girl, 26F, that I like a lot. Like say 4 months. Both of us are really close to our families and spend a lot of time with them, so it was basically impossible for our families not to meet pretty early, like I watch my niece 2 days a week and my mom does the other days and helps out on my days. Our families are pretty similar, standard boring suburban Midwestern families, and everyone gets along. So to the story, my girlfriend and her dad invited my dad and I to go golfing with them. It's been crazy nice where I live and courses are open right now when they usually are closed for the winter, and they wanted to take advantage. They knew we both played golf and the two of them were both very into golf. Like her high school and college trophies showing around their parents' house, it's really sweet. Golf is pretty much their main hobby, so here's some more info about me. I do not look like I golf. At all. I am covered in tattoos, I have long hair, my style is more punk than country club. I also am really good at golf. I personally enjoy the activities surrounding golf more than actually playing golf itself though. I like drinking a few beers and walking the course with friends more than practicing golf. I have done enough practice for 10 lifetimes, I promise you. My grandpa on my dad's side started a private golf club in the 50s. My grandpa on my mom's side was a golf coach. My dad played at a top university and is currently a top 50 senior golfer in the world. I have spent more time on a golf course than should be accepted by society. Literally my daycare growing up during summer was just to drop me off at the club until my dad was done with work. So about 9 hours a day. 36 holes 7 days a week. All summer. By the time high school came around it felt more like torture than a hobby or leisure activity. So I stopped playing, but once you learn something so thoroughly and so young, it doesn't go away. Anyway, I've told my GF my thoughts on golf before and that I mostly like the exercise, being outside and cold beverages with friends, but I would still love to go with her anytime. I think this must have translated into, I'm not very good at golf, for her or something. Even before the first hole was over I could tell something was up. GF wasn't ignoring me but definitely more distant. I just thought maybe she likes to focus more on the golf than the social aspects during a round, and that's fine. Going into this, I saw today as an opportunity to bond with her dad and not really about us, if that makes sense, so I just gave her space and did my best to get to know the guy, and we do get to know each other better, and I think we have a pretty great round. Well, the distance continued until we got to my house and she exploded at me. We haven't really had a fight before and she is not quick to anger. She was really mad, and saying things like, why would I lie to her about something so dumb, and, you were trying to make me look stupid, and, make her family look bad, etc. etc. I was flabbergasted. I mean, first fights are interesting to navigate, but this was something else. She eventually left as she needed to cool off, but she's been distant and curt with me since. That was Sunday. During our fight I was just so caught off guard I didn't really say much, which I don't think helped. We've been kinda just ignoring the situation, which is definitely not working at all. I really like her, and want to move past this. Other than this fight, she's been so sweet, and kind, and loving. She's the best. I'm going to talk to her later tonight about this, but I'm not really sure what to say. How do I convince her that I wasn't hiding my golf ability to be malicious or mean? I just don't like golf. It just sounds so ridiculous and dumb reading over this to me, but I don't want to mess this up. TLDR, I was better at golf than my girlfriend thought and we had a fight over it. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. If you'd mentioned a quarter as much to your girlfriend as you wrote in your post, you wouldn't be in this position. How could none of your or your family's relationships with golf not have come up once with a girl who has golf trophies all over her house? That's insane. How embarrassing for her to be in the dark about that in front of her family. If this isn't a shit post, tell her what you told us, and apologize for being clueless. Aita, it's also insane that she said you were trying to make her family look bad. Reply, most of this was over 20 years ago. It just isn't who I am today. She knows my dad played in the US and British senior am. I guess I just don't talk about myself or my past that much. Like, hey BTW, I'm a +2 handicap, just isn't a conversation I would have. Commenter 2, isn't a conversation I would have. It should be when you date a golfer. Very bizarre thing to not mention you played enough in the past to be good. Not to mention it was a big part of your life. It's not like you have to announce your handicap as a conversation opener. She knew I was on the golf team when I was in 7th grade, which kinda insinuates I'm good. She knows my dad and brother are both extremely good. Yeah, the more I'm talking with people on here and thinking I should have talked about it earlier, but golf is such a joy in her life and for me, it was not the same. So I would just kinda talk about her experience with golf or bring up parallels from my brother's and dad experience, both play at an extremely high amateur level, and keep conversations light. Just for her to be talking about how much she loved it, I just didn't want to respond with, oh yeah, I had more conversations with the waitresses at my club than my parents during summer. I'm a stick BTW. Through no autonomy of my own, my swing is fucking gorgeous. Like I obviously know that's an extreme, but it's kinda hard to start that conversation without going all the way through it, and while 4 months is a long time, I don't know if we're quite at that stage of the relationship. Commenter 3. Is it usual for someone to still be good at it after 20 years of not practicing? I wouldn't think that would be the case in most sports, but I admittedly know nothing about golf. Reply. So golf is kinda weird. It's pretty much strictly a skill sport. Like sure, if you're stronger and more athletic you can probably get more out of your swing, but if you're able to move somewhat freely, you can play golf. So basically I already have all the skills in the form of muscle memory. I mean knowledge too, my grandpa was a golf coach. I know golf, so when I quit was right before puberty basically. For golfers, sometimes, there's a small window, where if you play a lot, you are actually a little better before puberty than during. The mistakes you make are smaller, because you aren't hitting the ball as far. It's basically playing for pars and getting them almost every time and occasionally have a shot at a birdie on some of the shorter holes. You are learning how to score. You won't have great shots that save you, you have to be incredibly consistent. After puberty though, you play for birdies. Higher risk, higher reward. So I was basically a scratch golfer, before puberty. For a while after I was a little worse than that, but not much, and then when I was 18-ish and got better again as I got more used to my body and started playing at about a +2. Commenter 4. This is really interesting. It's one of those things that happens in a relationship that you should really pay attention to, not in terms of the subject matter of the fight, but rather in terms of how everyone handles the aftermath. So, you're 31. You sound pretty chill. I'm assuming you've been in a handful of relationships before. So you may be inclined to apologize or whatever and hope she cools off. If so, fine. Try that tactic and see what happens, but I'd suggest paying attention to her response. It's going to tell you a ton of information about how she handles disappointment, frustration, and anger. Like, does she get sullen and pouty? Does she hold grudges? Does she scream and yell and then a day later pretend like nothing happened? Whatever your tactic of approaching this, I wish you well. But just pay attention to how she responds and file that away for the future. And for what it's worth, I'd sort of suggest you open with a soft apology. Hey, I know you think I misled you out there. I'm so sorry. That was never my intention. I used to play golf a ton when I was growing up, and the skill set stuck with me. I still mostly enjoy the social aspect of it, and I really enjoyed getting to know your dad. I get that you were angry with me. I'd love to talk about how we can make this better though. I really like you and I don't want this to ruin anything. Reply. Yes, this was the avenue I am planning on going. At this point I'm not sure that she isn't just embarrassed how she responded. She can be a bit stubborn, but I've always kinda been a, whatever, doesn't matter to me, kinda person, so her being a little more ready to stick to her guns has been a good thing for me. Little update in the comments. Okay, I'm going to go talk now. Thank you for all the advice. Just going to tell her everything about my history golf and hope for the best. Update. So last night we talked about what had happened, my part in not really telling her about my history with golf, and her reaction to it. She started crying and apologizing immediately, which kinda surprised me because I've never seen her cry before and explain things from her end. So on the way to the course, she rode with her dad there and me home. Her dad and her had a bet. What do you think he's gonna shoot? She started the bet, so she decided the line and he got to pick over or under. The stakes. Cleaning up the winter poop from their dogs after the snow thaws. Pretty high stakes, lol. So she said 85 and he said, easiest under of my life, haha, get your poop scoop ready. They do not in fact have a poop scoop. So I guess his response, paired along with my play, had been bothering her all day, but he didn't say anything about it. So it was kinda just brewing all day. But she was positive that her dad knew I was a good golfer, and that she did not. So she didn't know if I was just doing this to help her dad not to have to clean up the poop or if she was just missing something obvious that would have clued her in. Because why would her dad know that about me but not her? She just felt like everyone was in on it and she was being made into a fool for no reason. Well, then the explosion happened. She said she just let her imagination get the best of her and that she wasn't even being rational, and she knows that. She apologized for all of that. Afterwards she called her dad and he kinda realized he had fucked up and told her how he knew about me. So she has an older brother 4 years older than me who also happened to play golf. The reason he remembered me even after close to 20 years. He got into a fight with my grandpa at a JPGA tournament, lol. Not like fist fight but a pretty heated argument. Which yeah, that makes sense because that would happen quite often, like seriously 1 out of 4 events I played in. I was 13 and still playing competitively and her brother was 17 and pretty good. I would play in the 14 to 17-year-old division because the 10 to 13 division had different rules that weren't golf, circle 10s if you score too high, just small changes to keep pace of play going for worse players. Anyway, her brother was in my group and I wasn't playing that great and my grandpa was riding me the whole time. My brother was in college at the time, and playing in the biggest amateur events in the country, which is a huge time commitment. My parents would go and watch these, so I would stay with my grandparents, so grandpa would take me to things like this. Anyway, I guess my grandpa was laying into me in front of everyone and her dad just lost it. So they got into a huge shouting match. He wasn't sure I was that kid right away, but after we were friends on Facebook he did some sleuthing and found a pic of my whole family, and sure enough, there was my grandpa. After hearing this, my girlfriend was kinda devastated. Embarrassed, sad for me, just generally distraught. But she didn't know what to say and how to apologize correctly because it was clear I didn't really want to talk about that point of my life yet, so she just tried to ignore it, but it made her come across distant. So we just talked about it all. About how I eventually hated golf back then, but she always talked about the good times she had with her family playing it growing up, and I didn't want to tint those memories with my experiences. We hugged, cried and laughed. Called in sick today, because it took up most of the night. But I think we're in a great spot. Her dad felt really bad, as he didn't realize how much it actually bothered my GF originally, and he kinda belatedly realized that while it was just a stupid and embarrassing yet very memorable interaction for him, not many times do you have a fight at a kid's golf event with an 80-plus-year-old man. For me that was kinda a microcosm of my life at the time. Like, hey kid, remember that time when you were verbally abused publicly, and then someone stood up for you and it started a huge fight? Man, what silly times. Isn't a convo he was willing to jump into, so he just kinda kept it to himself. And he didn't think his daughter would make a connection with the bet. He thought he would just get some free yard work and get off scotch-free. So all is well and the three of us are cleaning up poop this weekend, lol. I did thank him for sticking up for me back then, and it actually meant a lot to me at the time when people would do that. He just asked that if we have kids one day maybe keep grandpa away from the sporting events, lol. Stories number 10. Aita for shaming my dad for playing dumb about my relationship with his wife's kids and acting like he didn't put his happiness first. 17M, don't know if I'm the bad guy for talking to my dad the way I did, so I'm coming on here to ask. See, Dad and I have a complicated relationship, but he's the only parent I have, and I don't have a lot of family willing to take me in or support me. At the same time, I don't think it's fair for my dad to play dumb like he did. When I was 3, my dad married Tina. Tina was a widow with 4 kids. 3 of them were older, 17, 19 and 20 at the time, and her youngest, Casper, was 4. When Tina and my dad got married, her 17-year-old moved in with their older siblings and chose not to live with us at all. Her older kids weren't happy about their mom getting remarried, so they really didn't treat me or dad like family. Casper and I got along fine when we were a lot younger. We were growing up in the same house, so we played together and spent time doing stuff like brothers. But it was always pretty obvious we weren't when Casper's older siblings were around. Casper saw them a few times a month. I saw them maybe twice or 3 times a year. Every time they ignored me. At Christmas they would show up with gifts for Casper and nothing for me, and when he was younger Casper would try to share the gifts with me and they'd tell him not to, and they'd stop him from asking for my help opening them. Over time Casper started spending more time with them, and then he started treating me like I did something wrong. Once that happened, he would brag about his siblings and the stuff they did with him and bought for him, and he enjoyed opening their gifts in front of me. Every Christmas it was the same thing. My dad and Tina saw, but they said and did nothing about it. We spent time with Tina's family and not with anyone on Dad's side, so nobody saw a problem with it. But even when we did occasionally see someone from Dad's family, it wasn't like they cared. My dad wasn't close with his family and they didn't seem to give a fuck about me. I never knew anyone on my maternal side, but I always assumed they felt the same since my mom hadn't wanted me when she was alive and died when I was 2 from drugs. When I was 12 and Casper was 13, he told me his siblings hated me and that they wished my mom had taken me with her when she died. That's how I found out Dad had told Tina and her older kids about my mom, and it was always clear how her kids felt about me, so it hurt to know Dad shared something so big with them. Something they could use to hurt me. Casper told me they wanted me to go before they'd ever visit our house, so he wished for me to go away too. Casper graduated high school a few days ago. His older siblings were there, and afterward everyone had a graduation dinner, which is when my dad and Tina gave a speech and Casper interrupted when they called me his brother. He corrected them and said I wasn't his brother. His older siblings told Tina it was gross and disgusting to even pretend for half a second that I was anything to them, and how dare she and Dad ruin Casper's graduation. My dad acted surprised and it pissed me off. He said something like he thought Casper and I were as thick as thieves. I got mad and told Dad that was bullshit. That he saw me being left out every single time Tina's kids were around, how Casper pulled away from me and bragged about the stuff he did with his siblings and the gifts they gave him. I said he was not so dumb that he wouldn't notice when it happened right in front of him. I told him he didn't get to play now because it was being outed so publicly. Dad was like, you should have told me, which I did many times, and that he was only thinking of my happiness. I told him it was bullshit and he put his happiness first because no kid would be happy being ignored most of the time and treated like shit during certain times. I left the dinner and things continued without me. Tina came to my room after she got back with Dad and she told me to apologize because I really upset Dad when I shamed him in front of everyone like that. Then Dad approached me after a couple of days and he was like, why would you talk to me that way, and you know I love you, and had no idea you felt unwanted. I told him he didn't want to know about it, but it's fine and I'll be out of his hair this time next year, so just leave me alone. Dad left and Tina came up a few minutes after and said Dad still needed that apology. I don't even care about fixing things. I just want to keep my head down and get out. Stories number 11. Aita for telling my fiancé I won't help pay the mortgage. For some background, I 29F and my fiancé 30M have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020 and I lost my job around the same time. Our lease to our apartment was up and my grandma offered for us to move in with her, so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I had thrown the idea of going to school out there and everyone agreed it was a good idea. My fiancé paid for it and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. I did part-time for a couple semesters. My fiancé has been making $90K a year for the past couple years and $70K when we first moved in. He saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school and we could buy a house together. We've been looking at houses more seriously for a past couple months and found one we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him and only him on the mortgage and the deed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting, but afterwards I told him I thought we were buying the house together and I'd pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage but my name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that would mean I'd have no right to the house and he said he knew. He said since he saved the 40% down that it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do then I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership and if he just wants his own place fine, but I'm not paying for it. He called me a BTCH saying that he paid for everything for the past few years including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child so we didn't have to pay for daycare, and that ended up saving us money since I would have been only able to work part-time. He said he didn't care and I need to pay for half since I already agreed to it. So Reddit Aita for refusing to pay the mortgage. We were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to go to school so I'd make more money and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said we should stay with her until I finish school so we can save up for a life together. My fiancé and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. Edit 2. For those of you saying him paying for my schooling would be more expensive than rent, my schooling in total costed $17,000 across 5 years. That's $3,400 a year on average. Comments. Commenter 1. Are you still living in your grandma's place rent-free? If so, I'd stay there and start saving for your own down payment. Commenter 2. Staying at grandma's could be a great way to get your finances in order without the pressure of this situation. Saving for your own place and building your financial independence could give you more freedom in the future. Commenter 3. If Op goes this route, she also needs to file for child support. That can be used towards a home for their child. Even though is not the way Op had been expecting. Commenter 4. And grandma should be charging him rent for as far back as legally possible. Commenter 5. Yeah, WTF rich of him to live rent-free at someone else's grandma's place and then turn around and go, well, this saved me a crap ton of money to invest in my own home without my partner and mother of my kids. What an asshole. Why isn't he single and child-free if he doesn't want to share anything? This is most likely not what Granny had in mind when she decided to help out. Update. So first, thank you to everyone who commented. A lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those who weren't, I got to see a perspective of how my fiancé might be feeling, so thank you for that too. Although some of you were extremely misogynistic. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job and so we could save some money. This was the beginning of the lockdown and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I had brought up finishing my degree and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiancé said he'd pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or daycare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship, so he ended up only having to pay, on average, $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiancé was going to do. She said this. For the update, I told my fiancé we needed to talk about this arrangement, and I asked why he changed his mind all of a sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair, but he's now putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money, so the house should be his and his alone until and unless I put down 40% also. I asked if he'd consider a prenup that would give him the 40% he put down and we'd split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down while also giving me equity I'd be paying for. He said he'd have to think about it, but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on the title that badly. This one he could barely afford with just his income, not sure if he'd even be approved for the mortgage on his own tbh. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we get married. He said no. That we didn't need therapy and I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of the conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant. He listened attentively to every random thing I wanted to talk about. He treated me with the utmost respect. He was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it'd hurt our child. I love him so much. I don't know what happened. Comments. Commenter 1. I would not marry this man or buy a house with him. Time to set up some co-parenting guidelines and go your separate ways. He showed you who he is. Believe him. Commenter 2. Yup, see a lawyer about custody, child support, and get a third-party co-parenting app, because anyone that say op needs to just listen to him won't be the easiest person to co-parent with. Someone where along the way, maybe because he was the main breadwinner, he just started believing that his voice was the only one that matters, and you can't have a good relationship with that mentality. Commenter 3. It's easy to be the breadwinner when you don't have to pay rent or daycare. I wonder if they helped OP's grandma out with utilities and the food bill for the last 4 years. Let him have his house, and let the relationship end. He's not talking like a partner. He's talking like an adversary. I wouldn't be shocked if this guy is trying to end the relationship with this stunt. OP, I'm sorry you are hurting right now. You gave a completely valid compromise on a prenup. Wouldn't even accept relationship counseling. Not okay. He wants access to your money, your support system, while giving you no security. You deserve better. Stay with your gran and start saving for yourself. If the relationship ends, file for child support. Your child deserves to be provided for. Commenter 4. You need to run. This can get very dangerous very fast. This man is desperately trying to overpower and control every aspect of your life. It starts with it being his house, then it's his money, his child, and you're nothing. I don't want to scare you, but it feels as though he baby-trapped you. Meaning even if you decide to leave him, you'll be tied by the child you share. He doesn't want to do therapy because he is aware of his behavior. He knows what he's doing. The therapist will know his true intentions and expose them. He's trying to gaslight you into thinking he's not being abusive. Please get separate accounts and stay at your grandmother's place until you can get a place away from him. Reply, we do have separate accounts thankfully. He'll have zero access to my money once I start my job in a couple weeks. Update. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You've shown me I'm not alone in this and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision to not pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed, thank you. Anyways, tonight he and I got to talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup I mentioned in my last update. So I told him my final offer was couples therapy and getting married before we buy a house. I told him we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused, again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said I'm not entitled to any of his money and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it. Called me a BTCH and a gold digger and told me I owe him $30,000. I don't know where he got this number from. He said I'm used up and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting, yelling at me, for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten in with the manosphere red pill content, you were right. I looked at who he subscribed to on YouTube. Sure enough, I saw Joe Rogan, Fresh and Fit Podcast, Just Purely Things, and Aiden Ross. Safe to say he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man I fell in love with is gone and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said he was saving his money, and he was buying a house. He also said, on more than one occasion, he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recently, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a shit show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. Comments. Commenter 1. Keep the voicemails and messages he sends. You may need them. Get ready to go to court to custody and child support. Do not be alone with this man. Edit. Grandma is awesome. If he comes back and is yelling and acting up, call the cops. Commenter 2. And props to your grandma for sticking up for you. She is amazing. Commenter 3. Yeah, if fiancé is asking for money, remind him that grandma would want back rent. Commenter 4. Your life is not a shit show. Imagine if you moved into that house, paid for a few years and actually married him. That would be a colossal shit show. I'm so sorry you are going through this, but you found out before taking these next big steps. You have your degree, family support, and your kid. You will be fine. Please talk to a good lawyer. Custody, child support, and save and document everything. Reply, thank you, you're right. It could have been a whole hell of a lot worse. LOL. Update. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask for an update, so here it is. A few days after my last update, he texted me and asked if we could meet to talk. I agreed and left my kid with my grandma and met him at a coffee shop. He started with an apology and went on about how that wasn't him and he's a good guy, he just drank too much and lost control. He asked me if I wanted to get married still and I said no. He asked if he could move back in so we could work on things, and I said no. He even offered to do couples therapy and I said I'd have to think about it. He got quiet and asked if I ever even loved him. I said I did, but I can't handle the whole woe is me thing he's been doing. I said I would have never tried to screw him over in the case of a divorce and that if I didn't love him I would have never had a kid with him. I said he needs to do individual therapy before I'd consider doing couples therapy with him. He got angry and yelled that I needed therapy more than he did and he refused to do it without me. He got up and said he's going to take me to court and fight for full custody and that I'd never see a dime from him. I'm assuming he meant child support. Since then he tried dropping by unannounced to take our kid. My grandma's lawyer friend, technically her friend's son, told me that since we don't have a custody agreement in place it's a free-for-all and he could legally take him across state lines. He said it can be much more difficult to get him back, especially if we don't know where he is. So I didn't let him take our kid but said he's welcome to come visit, but he's not leaving with him until we have a custody arrangement in place. That ended about as well as you could imagine. My grandma told me I can stay as long as I need and I got my kid signed up for daycare. That's all for now. I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. Comments. Commenter 1. You need to get a lawyer stat and discuss the situation with the daycare. You don't want him showing up to the daycare and taking your son without you knowing. Commenter 2. 100% I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. OP, this is not an option. This person is too mercurial. You need a lawyer, and to ask for parenting classes, all communication through a parenting app, no interstate or international travel, fair visitation for him. It is just too much of a risk to do this outside the court system. Commenter 3. Lawyer here. Every moment you don't get a lawyer and file for custody you are risking losing your child. This is far more serious than you are treating it. He could take the child out of state and file for custody in that jurisdiction and you might never get anything but occasional visitation. Please get a lawyer now. Stories number 12. Aita for secretly selling alcohol at my dry wedding to cover costs. So I, 27F, recently got married. My husband, 29M, and I planned a pretty big wedding, about 300 guests. It was beautiful, honestly a dream. There's just one thing, our families are super conservative and very religious, so we told everyone it would be a dry wedding, aka, no alcohol. That decision kept the peace with our parents and extended family. As we all know, weddings are expensive and we were footing most of the bill ourselves. I saw an opportunity and took it. I hired a licensed bartender friend of mine to set up a VIP bar hidden at the venue. It was at a large event hall with a garden and private side rooms. I gave a heads up to about 75 of our younger friends and more chill cousins, and basically had them pay for drinks, think wedding speakeasy. The drinks were priced reasonably, like $5 a beer, $8 for cocktails, and people were happy to pay because 1, open bar weddings are rare in our circle, and 2, they thought it was kind of fun. Long story short, between the money from drinks and tips, we made about $2,000, which helped cover part of the catering bill. The issue is, word got out. A few of my aunts overheard someone talking about the secret bar, and now my mom is livid. She says I lied to everyone, disrespected the family, and made a mockery of our values. My MIL also called me manipulative and selfish. But honestly, most of our guests didn't even know it happened, and the ones who did loved it. We didn't force anyone to drink. We just gave the option discreetly. My husband is kind of in the middle. He gets why I did it but wishes I had told him beforehand. I didn't because I knew he'd get stressed and say no out of guilt. So, Aita for secretly selling alcohol at my dry wedding to offset the cost. Stories number 13. She wore white to my sister's wedding and then cried because no one was looking at her. I didn't think I'd be posting here, but I cannot keep this to myself anymore. This happened at my sister's wedding a few months ago and I'm still physically cringing every time I think about it. Let's call the main character of this mess Kelly. Kelly is my sister's childhood friend, and she's always been one of those main character energy girls. Like, every group chat turns into the Kelly show. My sister, the actual bride, was always super patient with her, and honestly too nice for her own good. I tried to warn her about including Kelly in the wedding party, but she didn't want drama. Well, we got drama. So picture this, my sister glowing radiant looking like she stepped out of a Vogue countryside wedding spread. The ceremony's in this gorgeous vineyard, everything's perfect. And then Kelly walks in, 15 minutes late, wearing a tight, white, floor-length dress with a dramatic slit and freaking rhinestones. It was very, very similar to this one, but with more rhinestones. Just imagine the situation. She looked like she was walking the Met Gala, not attending someone else's wedding. Everyone froze. My mom gasped. The photographer literally stopped what he was doing and went, my sister. She just smiled through it like the saint she is. But I could tell she was dying inside. Kelly tried to play it off like, oh, it's cream, not white. It wasn't, and said she had nothing else to wear. Meanwhile, I had seen her post 3 different try-on hauls for this wedding on IG the week before. This was intentional. And then, during the reception, she started crying. Like, full sobbing. In the middle of dinner. Why? Because no one was paying attention to her, and she felt invisible all night. I shit you not, she said, and I quote, "It's just hard when you're usually the one everyone looks at, and today I just feel like irrelevant." My cousin had to escort her to the bathroom. She missed the speeches. She missed the first dance. And when she finally came back, she had the audacity to ask if she could give a spontaneous toast because she had something on her heart. We said no. Firmly. She pouted and left early. But not before making a TikTok in front of the venue captioned, "Some people shine too bright for small-town weddings. You guys, the entitlement, the delusion I will never recover." My sister didn't say anything publicly, again too nice, but she unfollowed Kelly the next day and hasn't spoken to her since. Honestly, I hope Kelly never gets invited to another wedding again. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Stories number 14. My 25M, wife, 25F, went out with friends to a bar and something happened. Thank you to anyone who reads, my head's going in circles about this. Heed to the drama, but I feel a little stuck. My 25M, wife, 25F, went out with friends to a bar and something happened. Just some background and context, I'll keep this as short as possible. We are currently LD and have no issue with each other spending a night out with friends. I was able to visit her and meet some good people. In this case, her softball friends whom she plays with. A few days ago, I wake up to a text with her updating me on her plans, which include going over to her teammate's house before going to a bar they are sponsored by. Thought nothing of it. Meanwhile, my days goes on and I don't hear much from her. I call 3 times, 2 of which were not answered. On the 3rd, she picks up and seems to be a little off. I mean, short with her words. I ask the usual, "Are you okay, how is everything?" By this time I can hear she's drunk, high-pitched tone and slurring her words. At that point it worries me a little, of course, and gave me anxiety, but I brush it off the best I can because I trust her and her friends. Other than being tipsy, what she said she was, I again thought nothing much of it, and wished her a good rest of her time and to be safe. This is where things start to feel off. I ask her to call when she's home as she texts me in jumbled text that she's heading back. I get a call from her and she says her friends are walking her back. She passes her phone to one of her friends and she assures me she's safe. About 10 minutes later I get another call from her while she's home. She immediately apologizes for being this drunk, and even though it made me uncomfortable, she was having a good time with her teammates. What threw me off is that she started to cry, a lot. This is when my heart dropped a little, like shit, here it comes, something happened. Did she make a mistake? Cheat? I chose to hear her out the best I could through her slurred words. Meanwhile she's saying she misses me, a lot of "I love yous, I don't want you to leave me" hit me like a wall at that point, stomach sank, alarms going off in my head. She clearly had way too much to drink on an empty stomach. I ask calmly if something happened. She replies with, "Not at all." This is when my overthinking comes in. Why would she be begging me to trust her and not leave if nothing happened? It sounded like a cry for help, from guilt or something. I ask her a few more times after calming her down, and to no avail. She says no. The next morning I call her as soon as I'm awake and she's coherent enough, at least with a hangover. I get a little confrontational at this point and seek answers because it doesn't feel right. I ask and ask again if something happened and she says no. I ask again, some guy tried flirting with me. I ask for details, and she avoids it. I pry and pry until she admits to him kissing her. After it happened she said she pushed him away and asked her friends to take her home. My mind's bouncing everywhere at that point. A guy, who she knows, did this to her at a bar. She lied to me about it. Did she initiate flirting? Did she entertain it and kiss back? Are her alibis faulty? She's given me a good amount of reassurance. Screenshotted DMs from her friend, Alibi, who saw it and pointed out she did nothing wrong. As well as the name and contact information of the guy who did it. What I don't understand is the fact she lied about it so much, over and over. Her excuse for that was she wanted to wait for a clear head. She also had a feeling I would act out irrationally and want a divorce because of it. She had multiple chances to tell me what happened and didn't. This dude also forced himself on her and kissed her. Her side of things don't seem to reflect the seriousness of that. What I would like to know from readers is, do you think there is more to the story? Is she hiding something? Did she cheat and is now giving me a cover story? Edit, I just really need to the truth, and can't seem to feel I have a full grasp of it. I knew I should have led with detail about the distance, but I felt it best to leave it out. Update, my old post got moderated due to account inactivity, but there were those who read my shit show under "Welcome OK" and wanted an update, so here it is. This whole situation has been tough for us to talk about, but I can't just brush something like this off. She keeps pressuring me to move on from it and trust her. A few days ago I asked if she had told anyone to tell me what I'd want to hear. She said no. I asked if she has talked to the guy about anything, and it was a low detailed explanation of them figuring things out themselves. Which I didn't know about, figured she'd at least LMK about them talking about it. I then asked to see the texts between them and she said she had deleted them, red flag. According to her she was going to block him anyway, but he wasn't. She wanted to see what I'd say to him knowing he'd show her. So I decided to reach out to the guy. Didn't start well, but he understood where I was coming from, upset and confused. He gave me his side, story matched up, big relief, at first. He then sent me around 15 screenshots of their conversation about it. Those of you willing to look through them, I appreciate any response in advance. Once again I apologize for the drama. I've pretty much made my mind up about things. This is just an update. For those who read, is this how you would talk to the guy who did this? Shit just seems so wrong, especially behind my back. She's continued to give me alibis, but everything is just hard to believe at this point. Here's the link, get your popcorn ready. Blue are his responses. I realize this is a reach, I've protected privacy. Stories number 15. My ex-girlfriend told me she's pregnant with my child. I don't trust her. I, 19M, got a text from my ex, 18F, saying that she's pregnant with my child yesterday. For context, we broke up about 3 months ago and now she's saying she's 3 months pregnant. The reason I can't trust it is that she says a lot of things without any proof. About a year ago she told me she has cancer and has about 6 months to live. Now 1 year later she's alive and well without any sign of cancer physically. She also never shown any documentation of the sickness and any procedure she got. She also said that her mom is abusive to her, and when I met the mom she was just a super nice lady. There are more instances like this, but I won't get into it. For more information, she was on birth control and I still used condoms the whole time we were together. Anyway, here was how the messages go in summary. Hey, I'm pregnant with your child. I just want you to know and don't want anything from you. Told her okay, I want her to get another pregnancy test while I'm present to make sure. No, I'm too busy. I have a trip with my family in 2 days and have to pack. Which makes no sense because why'd you prioritize packing over this situation? Told her okay, what do you want to do? I don't want an abortion, but I've been eating stuffs that can cause a Miscarriage, told her I wouldn't want it to be in the child's life if she keeps it, okay, I will get an abortion then if you aren't gonna be in the child's life. Every signs pretty much is just screaming at me that she's lying again. The way she doesn't want to go to the clinic to check with me, the way she doesn't even want to take a test if I'm present, the way that she changes her mind about the abortion so fast when I said I don't want to be present in the child's life. My intuition says that she's lying, but my responsibilities say that I should trust her because this is important. My concern is more about if she's actually pregnant or not, more than if the child is actually mine or not. I just want to get this resolved as soon as possible so I don't have to deal with anxiety. What did you do? Stories number 16. Aita for not allowing my partner to be at the birth of our child. Hi, all this is really fresh and I am currently still very emotional from it all. Please forgive me if it seems like I am rambling. I'm also excluding the majority of the background because I don't want to distress myself further. I am due to give birth to my second child any day now. I'm a little worried that all my emotions from today may send me into labor. Not ideal. My partner, I use the word loosely because I'm not really sure if I want him to be that, has a narcissistic, abusive mother. She is a vile woman. She tormented me during my first pregnancy and postpartum. My partner cut her off then, and for the most part, I had peace. She has slowly been worming her way back into our lives. I never hated her until she made me feel like I was less than a human. My partner is overly defensive about her, partially because he is in denial about the emotional abuse and neglect he experienced growing up. She is the cause of a lot of our disagreements. I just found out that my partner has been deliberately withholding information from me. One of the major factors that lead to me resenting his mother was the fact that she turned up at the hospital after I had given birth. She made her way to my ward and into my room, knowing it was against my wishes to have any visitors. She had argued with me about it for months. It turns out he knew she was coming. He knew and didn't say anything. He told me less than an hour ago. I am so hurt by him. I feel betrayed. My family were incredibly angry with me because they thought I prioritized my in-laws over them. They had been told I did not want visitors and were happy to respect my wishes. I don't blame them for feeling slighted. He prioritized his mother over my wishes, over my needs. He let my family blame me and said nothing for over 2 years, knowing he could have prevented it. I have told him he cannot come to the birth of our second and that my firstborn and I will be leaving once I can pack the things up. She told me that she did not care about my wishes. She told me how her happiness mattered more than mine. She told me that my stance was ridiculous and that she needs to be there to meet her baby. She told me that wanting space to adjust was unnecessary. She told me that I was being delusional to think I could keep her away. He knew about all of this. He knew and he still gave her what she wanted. He knew about this and lied to me. I cannot trust him to be at the hospital with me. I do not want to see his face as I am having my surgery. I do not have anyone else, but I'd rather be alone than be with him. Does this make me TA? I feel awful for even wanting to do this. This has devastated me. ETA, all the stuff she said was when I was pregnant with my first. I had antenatal anxiety and she used this against me. She would trigger attacks and then call me mental in order to get her to side with him. He was not sure what to believe and cut her off because he did not think I was lying. She works at the hospital where I had my baby, doctor. I did tell the staff about the no visitors rule, but she can bypass it with her access card. I'm not sure if he kept quiet to avoid a scene in front of colleagues. He also works there. The fact they argued made me think he didn't know and she did it because he went LC. I cannot change hospitals because I am high risk and under the care of specific doctors. My plan has been created, and I have to stay put. ETA 2, for those requesting I report her for accessing my records, it has already been reported and is being investigated. In terms of reporting her accessing my room, I will speak with the hospital in the morning. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, just tell the labor and delivery crew you don't want anyone there. They'll keep them out. Reply, I told the staff the first time. She works at the hospital. That's how she got access the last time. Commenter 2, I'd be putting a complaint in about that. Reply, I wanted to. I don't know why I didn't. I felt so numb. I had postpartum depression after and I did not want to go through the complaints process, her potentially losing her job. It was all too much. OOP should get a lawyer and get an investigation started against her. MIL. Reply, I have one. The hospital are also doing their own investigation at the moment. OOP responds to multiple comments on alerting the hospital regarding her MIL possibly having access and changing OOP's private medical records. Reply, I asked them to check because my private medical correspondence somehow kept getting changed to my in-laws' home address. I never gave the hospital that address. They're already looking into things because my address kept getting changed on their systems. They said someone has been changing it manually, and that launched an investigation. I have spoken to my lawyer about a few other concerns, trying not to say too much on here in case. What is OOP's MIL's position at the hospital? Reply, she's a consultant doctor. I won't specify her department in case someone finds this post. Can OOP have her own mother be there at the hospital with her? Reply, my own mother is not my idea of comfort either. I'd rather her not be there, but she is the lesser of two evils. Sadly, she has her own vendetta against my MIL. I know that things will kick off if she sees her trying to visit me, and I know my MIL will get my mother removed. Does OOP have someone else besides her mother who she can trust to be with her when needed? Reply, I can try my aunt. She already knows my MIL and the history. Failing that, I don't really have anyone else I can ask. OOP clarifies the details of her partner's rights to the baby once they are being born, and OOP needs to have a POA in case if something happens. Reply, my partner has no rights until I add him to the birth certificate. It quite literally is, my baby. If he tried to take them it would be kidnapping. He is not allowed to do or go anywhere with my baby without my consent, and the nurses would always confirm to make sure I was actually okay with it. I also have left my care in the hands of my mother because I am worried that he would turn to his mother during a time of distress and blindly follow bad advice. Should anything happen to me, my lawyers have instructions and evidence. They have said it should prove more than substantial to prevent her ever having access to my children. I want what is best for them. Her being in their life is not that. Don't be sorry, I appreciate the advice. Thank you. Update 1. Hello again. This is a small update from me for those who were wondering. Firstly, I contacted the hospital about my upcoming admission. I was redirected to a safeguarding line and explained the situation. They have confirmed my file is still showing as locked and have taken her details in order to ensure she is prevented access to me. I'm not sure if this will guarantee she stays away, but if she doesn't, I will not be accountable or to blame for the consequences of her actions. Secondly, I did contact the hospital about the previous incident. They are being shifty to say the least. They do not want to take the complaint because I should have contacted them there and then, which I have already explained. It was then that they did not want to take it because a member of staff was involved and that wasn't what they deal with. I have been sure to get their refusal in writing. I was passed around to various other departments. One has agreed to look into the previous incident if she violates my request a second time. Thirdly, I have spoken to my lawyers about quite a few things. I have sent everything to my lawyer. I cannot disclose them on here, but now everything is being set in motion. Finally, this is the update that will get a lot of backlash from most of you. My MIL has my hospital date. She sent a message stating that she found it out from someone she works with. They were named in the message. I'm not entirely sure why that person had it to begin with. There was also a mention of how she will already be working on that day. You can pretty much guess where this is going. I cannot do anything about it this weekend, but I will be contacting the hospital and my lawyers on Monday. I'm not sure if I missed anything. My brain is sleep deprived right now. I'll add it if I am reminded or suddenly remember. ETA, covering some repeated mentions again. I'm British. Some stuff you all are saying applies, some does not. I appreciate it, but my lawyers are on top of everything and I have been sending the necessary documents, etc. Hospital change is not an option. As per the previous posts, this is the best hospital for me to be at. If anything were to happen, I would be transferred back there either way. Hospitals here are in trusts. She can access both that offer maternity services, and the others are too far for me to get to. To be strictly clear, my partner did not tell her my date. I know I wrote it above, but some comments are still suggesting it was him. It was definitely not. She sent the name of the person in the messages she wrote to him. This person is from her department. I cannot remember her exact job role, but I know she is in a senior position. ETA 2, I knew I forgot something. My aunt is trying to swap her shifts at work to be with me. My issue is that I do not really want anyone with me during the actual surgery. The only person I would want there is my partner. Right now, still a massive NO from me, and he is respecting that. My mother would faint. She couldn't even look at the pictures of my firstborn if he had not yet been cleaned up. Post-surgery, I won't be able to walk and will be a sitting duck. This is when my MIL is most likely to make her appearance. I hope she has sense enough to stay away this time, but I am a realist. She will try to come no matter what. I am mostly concerned about not having anyone around because I know I will want to shower at some point, but I won't be able to if my baby is not supervised. I will have 2 private nurses, but I know they are not people I can realistically trust to confront my MIL if I am not present. Some have suggested doulas. I started to look into it yesterday and will continue to research before the weekend is over. I am really disheartened about having to compromise on my boundary. My child is more important to me, and for their sake I will do what I have to. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA, I would recommend moving your date up by 1 day, but your POS partner will just tell her. Unless, you have a friend who can sneak you out and to the hospital a day early. Reply, he didn't tell her. It really was someone else from their work in her department. Dates can't be changed like that. My doctors also won't be there on that day. Commenter 2, I'm just curious, what's your stance with your husband following this? Are you going to stay together? Should you? Curious to hear your thoughts on that area. Reply, I'm not really speaking to him at the moment. I am still adamant about not wanting him with me. He is respecting my decision and understands why I feel this way. He has also contacted my aunt and explained what he did. She is shocked he would keep quiet. She did say I should hear him out about it because he has shown her the messages, and she doesn't think he is entirely to blame based on the reply he sent to my MIL at the time. Outside of this, he has never given me a reason to distrust him. He doesn't tell my MIL my business. He barely even talks to her. I thought he was lying about what he said yesterday, but my aunt has confirmed it did happen, just not in a way he is entirely to blame. My aunt is coming tomorrow. I will probably talk to him after that. She is someone I can trust to be honest with me. OOP provides more details regarding her partner and how did he protect her from MIL. Reply, my partner is the product of a lifetime of abuse and internalized ideals. I won't make excuses for him. He was wrong to do what he did. However, he has done so many other things to protect me over the years. He didn't tell his mother about the pregnancy. I did because someone saw me at the hospital with a folder in my hands. She confronted me about it. He did not want her knowing at all. She did not find out until I was almost halfway. He doesn't let her near our child. He doesn't let her in our home. He doesn't go to their home. He won't meet her in private or public. He really does only see her at work or work social events. A family event here and there. He does not contact her or acknowledge the majority of her messages. Whilst he has done something that betrays me massively, he has done a lot to distance himself from her. He has looked into moving us away, working elsewhere, etc. He is also at the mercy of a position coming up for his specialist role. I never asked him to do any of this. He chose to. That's why it is so hard to believe he could have ever betrayed me. Commenter 3, that's a huge breach of data protection. I hope she's also been reported to the GMC and her coworker. If you haven't already, I'd also suggest speaking to PALS, Patient Advice and Liaison Services. It might help with some stress, knowing you've got an advocate that understands your rights and procedures within UK hospitals. Reply, PALS was one of the departments that refused to take it on. AITA for not allowing my partner to be at the birth of our child. I am sorry for the amount of posts. Adding the information onto the previous ones makes it appear overwhelming. I realized that I was answering a lot of the same questions in the comments, and the edit was not the most thorough in covering other concerns, my fault. I will use this to cover them now. Note, this will make no sense if you have not seen either of the previous posts. Firstly, I would like to address the above. If you feel a particular way, feel free to comment it here. Do not send it to me directly, you're wasting your time because I will continue with my decisions regardless of your opinion. The fact you feel a need to hide in my messages says a lot more about you than it does about me. I can at least respect the people that are openly disrespectful in the comments. I'm not ignoring any of the other messages. I have only realized I was being sent them because I have never messaged anyone and my notifications are off. I will get around to replying to each of them, and I do appreciate the messages. Secondly, there is a misconception about my partner. I should have cleared some stuff up in the first post, but I was crying when I wrote it so it really will be all over the place. I have mentioned it in a lot of my replies. What he did was wrong and inexcusable. He knows this. I know this. That aside, my partner is the one who cut my MIL out of our lives. He made his own choice to do that 2 years ago. I never asked him to do it. Whilst people may not believe me, he still does a lot to ensure she stays away now. He has looked into moving us away, but he has a specialist role and needs a job posting to become available. At present, the only one is in another country and he was asked for by name. He does not want to take me away from my family and friends, so he has declined the offer. She does not come to my home, she does not see my firstborn, we do not go to their house, we do not meet up in private or public. The most he will see her is at work social event, or a family gathering. He will acknowledge her presence to be civilized, but we stay away. If she tries to be situated with us, he will remove us. Her worming her way back in is met with resistance from him at all angles. I did mention he is overly defensive about her. To explain this better, I mean that he will be defensive if I mention something she has done. It is almost like a coping mechanism for him. What he doesn't do is go out of his way to defend her and tell me that I am at fault, etc. There is of course a lot more that he has done, and I will credit him for that. A lot of this is remembering he has grown up under her abuse and narcissism his whole life. He needs to go to therapy and come to understand that he has internalized things that are not normal. Thirdly, my aunt is due to be here in an hour. She says I need to hear him out about what happened at the hospital. She has seen the messages from then and she says he is not entirely to blame for it. She is someone that will hold anyone and everyone accountable for their actions, so I can trust her opinion. I will probably take time to do so later today and spend the weekend reflecting on it. Again, I think this covers everything I missed. Please let me know if I did not below. Additional information. I cannot edit above, I will say so here. A lot of people might have also misunderstood the circumstances of my MIL accessing my ward. At the time, she was working. She did not come in on her day off, she used the fact she was already working as an excuse to be there. She was in her scrubs when she walked in. It doesn't justify any of it, I just wanted to clarify. Relevant comments. Does OOP have someone she can stay with after birth or somewhere else than her house to have some distance from MIL? Reply, I have another property that I can stay in. It already has baby things and my old bed, etc. I would be more comfortable having my aunt there. I haven't spoken to him. I took a screenshot of the messages from my MIL and then he left me be. After he confessed, I told him that I will be speaking to the lawyers about what she did. I was also clear that if she does it again, I will ensure she loses her job. I walked out before he could say anything else to me because I was crying. He did call my aunt yesterday. She called me to say he had and that he sent screenshots of the messages between him and my MIL when I was in hospital. My aunt has said he was not entirely to blame and that I need to hear him out. I trust that she is telling the truth, she always holds people accountable for their actions. He has no allegiance to my MIL and has done a lot to separate from her over the past couple of years. He keeps her away from us out of his own choice. I don't think he will be supporting her decision to come again. Commenter 1, I'm glad your aunt will be here. Any chance that she can run interference during your child's birth? Reply, she is trying to change her shifts to be with me. Commenter 2, are you able to have yourself plus baby admitted under a pseudonym only known to directly related medical staff? It's a level of anonymity hospitals can provide, especially in situations such as this. Reply, I have to go in next week for some tests, before admission. I will ask them and ensure I tell them about what has happened. Update 2. Hi again, another update from me. I hope I am not boring you all with them. I made a decision in relation to the hospital and my family. Before I get into that, I do want to say that this was never something taken lightly. I would never want to deprive my partner of the opportunity to be there when our children are born. It is a once-in-a-lifetime event, no matter how many children you have. You can only be there for that child once. The reason it was considered is because I cannot have someone who treated me, and has since treated me, the way my MIL does around me. Nor would I be willing to have someone who enabled her in getting her way, by my side, especially when what I need is someone I can trust. I was still going to allow him to sign the birth certificate after the fact. He is their dad and they are not a pawn. Custody is a whole other matter, but as I would recommend to most people, always look into it even if you have no intention of separating. It will give you clarity on your position. We already have a pre-existing agreement that we both are happy to abide by. Now for the decision. I am allowing him to be present. However, my aunt will also be there in the event he proves incapable of dealing with my MIL. She will not hesitate to advocate for us all, and she will defend my partner if my MIL tries to get to him. He has shown me his commitment to our family over the past couple of years. He was willing to miss the birth because he understood how much his actions have impacted me. He has also said he will look into therapy for his personal development. He has given me space to come to this decision on my own. I feel it is the best one for our family. I did speak to him about the previous incident yesterday afternoon. My aunt was right about him not being entirely to blame. A lot of it comes down to timings, circumstances, what I witnessed, and what he has told me. He had seen a message from her to say she was on her way to my room and not replied because he was helping me. He did not see the second message where she essentially told him that neither of us was going to prevent her from having her way until after she had already left. It was a case of him knowing, not agreeing that she could come. The fact he did not speak up when he realized she was in the room and she had picked up our baby was another fault he has accepted. However, he did leave to confront her after a nurse arrived to take over. With this, I would be a complete monster to keep him away. He is and will continue to be my partner. I never blamed him for my MIL's actions. She deserves to, and will be held accountable for herself. Yes, he lied to me by keeping quiet. Yes, he deceived my family by not correcting them and letting me take the blame. He has said he will speak to them and accept the consequences of his actions. My MIL decided to contact me directly yesterday evening. I did have her blocked for calls and texts, it seems I forgot about an app. It has been rectified. Safe to say I have a lot to update my lawyers with. My partner is aware of what I am doing and fully supports it. If you're disappointed in my choice, that is fine. I am the one that will have to live with it. Also, if this makes little sense, please forgive me. I am quite drained. Relevant comments. OOP gives examples of her MIL's messages to her and her partner. Reply, she sent a lot. I can't give specifics because they will probably be used as evidence against her. I can give a vague summary. I'm still their grandma, I have the right to know. You are being cruel. You are selfish. I heard about what you have been up to. I'm bringing my mother, she will be meeting the baby. There were over 20 messages. I blocked her once she stopped sending them and I got what I needed. My partner received his own messages. You need to let the past go. You need to give me another chance. I've done nothing wrong, she was wrong for expecting me to stay away. Your grandma does not deserve to suffer. I'm being punished because she hates me. You don't love me. You're an awful son, you get the picture. He replied to the one she sent him to tell her to stay away from us. Commenter 1, if you are comfortable sharing, I'm curious what she could have said that you are talking to a lawyer. In either case, I feel you were reasonable in your reactions to the circumstances. Betrayal by a partner is devastating and only amplified by the fact you are a bad bitch who's growing a whole ass human right now. Update us please. Reply, there's a number of reasons why I am. I have always had these lawyers, but first started to consult them because she was mentioning things that I had not told my partner, when we were in contact with her. Then it was to keep records of things in case they were ever needed in the future. Now they're helping me to deal with the current complaints and will action the historic. Update 3. Hi all, this is a small update. If it reads badly, I do apologize, my medication makes me drowsy and I have to retype some words. I wanted to do it whilst I have this free moment. I'm finally home from the hospital now. I am so glad to be back because I found myself to be somewhat on edge and anxious the entire time I was there. Things went far better than last time. There were a few complications with the drugs they gave me, so I was quite out of it for most of the first day. Thankfully I had a lot of assistance and was pretty much fully catered to. I did not even change a single nappy. My partner came into the theater with me. I am so glad he was there for the birth of our baby. The smile on his face is something I will always cherish, and he was a huge support to me the whole time, though I think he was more nervous than I was. My aunt was very much a security guard the entire time. My partner couldn't stay with me because of our firstborn, so she stayed in his place. I did not manage to sleep due to discomfort and feeling unwell, but it was nice to have some company. I don't know if my MIL did try to come to theaters or the ward. My aunt said she cannot be sure, but she did see someone that looked like her through a glass window to the main ward. Even though she wasn't seen, word travels fast in a hospital. As I was brought into recovery, someone mentioned that my MIL was telling people she was sad that she was not allowed to visit baby's name. I do not know what they were hoping to achieve by passing on this message. I'll be honest, it made me cry. My baby was not even an hour old at this point, and she was still making everything about her. I'm always the bad guy for wanting peace. I feel like a happy day is permanently soiled for me. My partner did leave to address her after he heard the comments. He told me she wouldn't be saying anything else, and I did not hear anything else from anyone. Before anyone asks, no, he did not take his phone to show her photos. All the photos were taken on my phone and he left his with me. I did unblock her before being admitted in case she sent me anything else. I was concerned that she would message me directly and then turn up, claiming I was aware. She sent me nothing. She messaged me the next day to ask some questions. I ignored them and she said nothing more. I know she worked an additional day there, but my aunt says she did not see her. I know she was told to stay away from me. I have not heard anything since being home. Fingers crossed it stays this way. Still early days and the hospital is being dealt with for all the other stuff. Thank you for all the well wishes from my previous posts. I am sorry if I did not respond to you directly, but I still appreciate you. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, congratulations on your baby. Was the person who passed on your MIL's message hospital staff? If so, I would report them. They knew she wasn't allowed to be there. To say that to you in your vulnerable state was not only immoral, but unprofessional. Reply, I have no idea who she was. She was on the recovery ward and in uniform, so definitely staff. Commenter 2, I'm so glad to hear that your partner left to tell her to stop her manipulations to get into the room. Reply, as am I. He really did take it seriously and I do not regret having him there. Commenter 3, your Mill sounds like an absolute monster, so happy she was kept away and everything went well. She showed what sort of person she is. This should have all been about you, your baby and husband, but she made it all about her. Reply, thank you so much. I would still be annoyed but less so if she had said something like, I'm glad that baby is doing well. Stories number 17. Aita for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself. I go to the gym a lot. About 6-ish months ago I noticed a woman I'll call Andrea. That's not her name, but it will be for the rest of this post. I don't know if Andrea started going to the gym 6 months ago or if that's just when I noticed her. Full disclosure, I spoke to her first, but I had no way of knowing what the result would be. A lot of the machines at this gym have little entertainment systems attached to them that can access local channels. I got on a treadmill and realized the TV on the treadmill wasn't working. Andrea was walking past and I said, "Hey, do you know if there's an issue with the cable? This TV isn't working, but I don't know if it's just this one or all of them." She said the same thing happened to her on a different machine. I thanked her. That was the whole interaction. A week later she asked me for some electrolyte powder for her water. I said I didn't have any. She was cool with that and asked me how long I'd been coming to the gym and what I did for work. I answered and returned her questions. She said she was new to the area and worked in private security. We had a few more chill conversations after that. 6 weeks ago she asked me out. For reasons I won't get into here, I wasn't interested. I declined. She said not to worry about things being awkward at the gym if we don't work out. I said that wasn't the issue, just not looking to date right now. She kept talking to me, and at first I kept talking to her, but I started to think something might be wrong, and I started avoiding her. 2 weeks ago she walked up to me while I was on a machine with only one way to properly dismount that involved stepping into weight she was standing. She asked if I was avoiding her. I said I was and apologized. I said I just don't want to date right now. She said I don't have to avoid her to not date her. I said okay. I kept avoiding her though. Tonight while I was working out she confronted me again about avoiding her. I had a bad day and told her to leave me alone. She asked why I'm being such a prick, and I said because I wanted her to leave me alone. I then said that she was embarrassing herself and needs to stop. She put her foot on top of the weights, and I thought she was going to press down on them, so I let go of the bar very quickly, causing the weights to slam and make a loud noise. Several people looked over. She said, "Now who's embarrassing himself," and walked away. Did I go too far by saying that? Do I owe her an apology? Update. I went in early this morning for a run and told the front desk staff about Andrea putting her foot on the weights. They said they would talk to her. Then, after work, I went in again for a regular workout. I was working on my legs when she walked up to my machine. The first thing she did was apologize about the weights. I don't know if someone talked to her or if that was of her own initiative. I accepted her apology and apologized for saying she was embarrassing herself. She said she forgave me, but if I wanted to really make it up to her I could buy her a drink and she would buy me one too to make up for the weights. I said maybe we should buy our own drinks, meaning separately at different places and times, and she misunderstood me and asked when and where. I told her I meant that I didn't want to go out with her. She said this wouldn't be a date but a reset for our friendship. I said I didn't want to be friends. She said I was being a douche and asked what my problem is. I said the weight incident made me uncomfortable, and I would rather us just give each other space. She then asked me if my problem with her is that she's Hispanic. I was so taken aback. I didn't even know she was until she said that. I said no, that she just makes me uncomfortable. She wanted me to explain what about her made me uncomfortable, and I tried to do so, but she argued with every point I made. I got frustrated and told her to just stay away from me. She said fine and that I have a lot of maturing to do. Then she walked away. I'm hoping that's the end of it. Update 2. Andrea is banned from the gym. I was running on the treadmill and watching TV. She came up to talk to me, and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She raised her voice and I continued to ignore her. She reached out and pulled the safety tab out of the treadmill, the one you connect to your wrist so the treadmill stops if you fall, causing the treadmill to come to a sudden stop. I tripped and fell onto the controls and TV, scratching my chin on the top of the screen. I went to the front desk with Andrea following me. I told them what she did. She kept trying to interrupt me and talk over me, but the woman at the front desk told her to be quiet and wait her turn. I told her Andrea pulled out the safety tab while I was running and injured me. The woman at the front desk then asked Andrea what happened. Andrea said I was staring into the middle distance, like I was in some kind of voyage state, and she thought I was having a medical episode so she pulled the tab. The woman at the front desk asked for her membership card. Andrea didn't want to give it to her, but the woman at the front desk said if she didn't she would ban her. Andrea gave her the card and the woman at the front desk said to leave and she was suspended for a month. Andrea objected and got into an argument with the woman at the front desk that escalated into Andrea calling the woman an N-word B-word. So she was banned permanently. I hesitate to call that a happy ending because the poor gym employee had to put up with racial harassment, but I won't deny getting to watch her cut up Andrea's membership card felt good. Stories number 18. I 23F am in a dilemma about my boyfriend's actions. Should I let this slide? I need some advice. I 23F, from Pune, have been in a relationship with a guy 23M, also from Pune, since the past year. We're complete opposites personality-wise. I'm introverted and prefer to stay indoors, whereas he is extroverted and prefers to go out and spend time with others. This wasn't an issue before, but since the past 2 to 3 months he's been going out a lot with this female friend of his who we'll refer to as C. I voiced my discomfort to him, but he brushed it off the first few times. Then I started to feel that maybe I am doubting him too much and it's just a harmless friendship between a guy and a girl. But then last week I noticed him receiving late-night texts at around 2 a.m. I checked who it was as he was sleeping, and it was C, asking him where he was and why isn't he replying and all. Then I scrolled up and noticed they talked a lot. Like a lot. And those texts were ranging from "I love yours" to "you're the only one who gets me" and stuff. Didn't find anything explicit sexual as such, but this disturbed me a lot. And I've been ruminating on this since then. What to do? Comments. Commenter 1. He's cheating, break up ASAP. Reply. I love him so much and just breaking up like that after being together for a year is hard. What's right and wrong anymore? Commenter 2. 1 year is not a lot of time. Get out of the relationship before this goes on for years. They're going to sideline you one day and you'll become the side chick. Get out ASAP, he's definitely going to pick her. Commenter 3. OP, come on, that's emotional cheating. You need to leave like now. Reply. Yeah, maybe I was too anxious when I wrote it, but yeah, I get the clear picture. Update. Hello guys, I posted here 6 months ago when I was really confused about my boyfriend and a girl he was spending a lot of time with. We had been together for 2 years and things started to feel different. I saw messages from her on his phone in the middle of the night. They said things like, "I love you," and "You are the only one who understands me." I felt hurt and uneasy, but I did not want to seem jealous or controlling. When I brought it up, he told me I was imagining things. He said they were just friends and I had nothing to worry about. He made me feel like I was the one creating a problem out of nothing. So I let it slide. That is where I left things in my last post. I hoped I was wrong. I hoped things would go back to normal, but they did not. He kept getting closer to her. They were always texting, they hung out constantly. I started to feel like a stranger in my own relationship. He stopped sharing things with me. He stopped asking how I was doing. I was watching him drift away and I kept pretending I did not notice because I was afraid of losing him. A few weeks ago I found out from a mutual friend that they went on a weekend trip together. He never told me, I had no idea. When I asked him about it, he did not even try to lie. He just said they needed a break and that she had been there for him in ways I was not. That was the moment I realized I had already lost him long ago. He never really ended the relationship. He just let it fade. He gave all his energy to someone else while I stayed and waited and kept hoping he would come back to me. He never did. Now I am trying to pick up the pieces. I feel broken. I feel like I was emotionally cheated on and that somehow makes it harder to process. He never even saw what he did as wrong. He just moved on like I was never really part of his life. I do not know how to stop feeling like I was not enough. I loved him so much. I tried to be understanding. I trusted him even when my instincts screamed at me to run. And now I feel like I betrayed myself. If anyone has been through something like this, how did you heal? How did you learn to trust again? How do you stop blaming yourself for loving the wrong person? Comments. Commenter 1. Chances are there was more than just emotional cheating. It sounds like you don't live together. Back in my 20s, when I got dumped or when I dumped someone, I would put on loud music that was my vibe, deep clean him out of my apartment. And I would feel a lot better. Reply. We used to share an apartment, but since our breakup I am back at my parents' house. It's a trouble there because I have random breakdowns and I have to hide it from them so they do not make a scene out of it. Commenter 2. Don't hide pain from your family and people that love you. Allow them to help you through it. Reply. They'll kill me if they find out about our relationship. Commenter 3. Then they're not family. You're a young adult and it's no one's business who you date, however you shouldn't have to be in shame if you're in pain either. Reply. But I don't want to bring into this, it's better if I handle it alone than make a mess by involving them. Stories number 19. Aita for calling my wife a jerk for telling our son's crush that our son likes her in front of his friends. I, 37M, have 3 kids, 14M, 11F, 8F, with my wife, 37F. Our son, who we'll call Sonny, is in grade 9. My wife is asking him if he has a girl on this grade 10 girl, Tina, 15F, who he's been hanging out with. Sonny said it's not her who he likes, it's a different girl. A 9th grader who we'll call Chris, 14F. My wife asked Sonny if Chris knows. He said no and that's it, a secret. My wife asked why. He said his friends will make fun of him. My wife asked why. He said it's because Chris the heaviest girl in their grade, she has terrible skin, and she's a tomboy. One Saturday, Sunny had friends over. It was Sunny plus 5 other boys, with Chris, Tina, and another girl. At one point, my wife just walks into the living and she tells Chris that Sunny has a huge crush on her. It was so uncomfortable after that. Chris got up, and just walked out of the house. The kids barely said everything and they left earlier than expected. Sunny didn't say anything to me nor his mom, but he made sure to slam every door he used. Later that night, in bed, I called my wife a jerk. She said she was trying to prevent our son from becoming a bully. I told her there was a better way, then she asked what if one of our daughters were in Chris's position. Then she asked, if we went to same high school, would I hide my feelings for her? She ended sleeping in the guest bedroom. Am I the asshole? Relevant comments. Commenter 1, NTA. Did you point out to your wife that Chris walked out because she thought your wife was bullying her? That outing the crush doesn't come off as a nice thing, but a mocking one. Her behavior was typical high school mean girl. Reply, wait, I never thought of that. Do you really think that Chris thought a woman in her 30s was bullying her? Commenter 2, speaking as a former awkward teenage girl, yeah absolutely. In that situation, it wouldn't occur to me that your wife was humiliating me in front of her son and his peers to teach him a lesson. I'd assume it was a version of the old, let's tell this awkward kid that someone is crushing on them. BC the idea that anyone would crush on them is hilarious. Because whether or not your wife intended to embarrass Chris, telling her that your son has a crush on her in public puts her in a horrible position. She has a split second to work out if it's true or not. If it's not true and she acts like she believes it, everyone will laugh at her thinking someone could have a crush on her. And if it is true, your son is still going to deny it, so the joke is still on her. And it's MOM doing this to her, so that's even worse, because if your friends' moms are doing this shit, you really must be known for being awkward and ugly and undesirable. And the fact that your wife even did a big reveal makes it even more humiliating, because it's like, LOL, my son has a crush on the fat kid. So yeah. Your wife deliberately put a teenage girl in a humiliating position, and honestly in my mind, that makes her a bully, albeit unintentionally. Hope she feels real good about doing that to a 14-year-old. Commenter 3. A woman in her 30s was bullying her FFS. She was bullying her and your son. Your wife is a flaming gaping AH. Commenter 4. Your wife needs to stop being so nosy and annoying. She's a 37 years woman behaving like an annoying 12 years old. Reply. My wife also seemed to have forgotten what it's like being in the 12, 13, 14, 15 age range. I don't think any of the kids benefited from that. Not even Chris. She didn't look happy at all. Edit. A sad update. The information is sad, and the fact that I had to hear about this from Tina's mom is sad. To nobody's surprise, Chris was indeed humiliated. Chris, at first, thought it was a cruel prank. Then, when Sunny confirmed it, she questioned why his mom would announce it like that in front of all their friends. Sunny took the honest route, and he told Chris why he didn't want to tell her. Chris' feelings are hurt, and she said she can't like someone who was so embarrassed for people to know he likes her. So our son is even more upset with us. What my wife did, showed my son in a bad light to most of his friends. Some of them thought it was a prank. Some of them think something is wrong with my wife mentally. The people who my son is talking to the most about this situation are Tina and Tina's mom. Relevant comments. Commenter 1. And now what does your wife think? Post update. Reply. My wife is in the guest room. She's fully aware of the post. My son, even though he's a little old for this, he got permission to have a sleepover at another house. Give him a break from the tension in our house. Update. I, 37M, have some good news and some bad news. My wife, 37F, have read the original post, the edit, and all my comments. I also showed my wife certain comments. She read a ton of comments on her own. I don't know if she'll read this update post because she says she hates Reddit and will never go back on Reddit for as long as she lives. However, she did agree to individual therapy and couples therapy. Back in middle school and high school, my wife was bullied a lot for her weight and acne. She still struggles with her weight and acne. I think she looks beautiful. What I've seen from her personality recently is another story. Last night, my wife said that our son, Sunny, 14M, had body shamed his crush, Chris, 14F, when he gave the reasons why his friends may make fun of him for liking Chris. To my wife, Sunny merely acknowledging that Chris is heavy and has acne is body shaming. Even though he also calls her pretty. My wife said she told Chris that Sunny likes her in front of everyone, because my wife was afraid that if Sunny keeps his feelings for Chris a secret, that he'll end up with his friend, Tina, 15F. I've been learning a lot about what is going on in our son's social circle, not from my son, but from Tina's mom. The things my son gave Tina's mom permission to tell me. Tina has been working hard to fix her friend group. Tina has convinced Chris to forgive my son and to go on a date with him. Also, when the friend group wants a house to hang out, they'll do it at Tina's house. None of the kids want to come near my wife. One of the boys who was there that day told his parents and he's not even allowed to go to our house. Tina's mom said her house is always welcome to my son if he needs a safe place to stay. I made sure to quickly tell my wife that Sunny and Chris will go on a date later in the week. I wasn't sure what would be my wife's reaction, and I wanted to get it over with before our son came home. My wife basically said she told me so. She said Reddit and I was wrong. My wife is claiming victory for getting Sunny and Chris together. My wife claims that our son will thank her later. My wife is living in her own little world. This evening, I finally had a significant conversation with my son Sunny. During the conversation, he wasn't referring to his mom as mom nor my mom, but your wife. He said when he wants to talk to an adult about stupid teenager stuff, he'll talk to Tina's mom. Sunny said he doesn't want to tell me something then give me the burden of keeping it a secret from my wife. Our son is continuing his radio silence with his mom. When I think of my wife's well-being, I have to look at it in the context of my co-parent instead of my life partner. I need to watch her and make sure I'll protect our kids from her if needed. She was a stable mom but somehow she morphed into a bratty teenager just she heard some teenage drama. I hope my wife gets stable again. But my kids are and will always be number one. Update 2, my 37M wife, 37F, finally apologized to our son, Sunny, 14M, this morning. My wife however loaded the apology with excuses. She mentioned her own current weight and acne. She mentioned she was bullied in middle and high school. She was worried about our middle child. She mentioned that she wasn't sleeping enough. She mentioned that she was drinking too much caffeine. But at least an apology that lists every possible mitigating factors is more like her old self than the brat she was the past few weeks. Sunny just gave his mom a half-hearted thank you. Yesterday was Sunny's and Chris, 14F, date. He hasn't said anything to us, but he seems happy. My wife actually managed to stop herself from asking our son about the date. My wife is acting a lot like her old self. I'm cautiously optimistic but I'm still keeping an eye on her. Right now, our son and his friend group are at Tina's, 15F, house. They are supervised by Tina's mom. Right now, I am far more comfortable with Tina's mom watching our son with his friends, than my wife. The appointment for individual therapy for my wife and couples therapy for us has been set. I hope things get better. Stories number 20. Aita for canceling my wedding. My possibly soon-to-be ex, M28, and I, F25, were due to be married less than a week ago. We are very untraditional and spent the night before together, just talking and reminiscing on what got us to that point. I've always known he is bi, and it's never been an issue, it's just who he is. We have a very close-knit group of friends, and he and his best friend grew up together and were one another's support system throughout university. He's been very open about all this since I first met him. However, one thing I wasn't aware of is that they were involved, and that my possible ex is still in love with him, and the feeling is mutual. I asked him if he'd cheated on me before, and he confessed to a few slip-ups but refused to go into detail. The morning of the wedding I woke feeling sick and just totally overwhelmed and stressed. I was questioning everything that's happened since we got together, and spoke to his best friend to confirm what I'd been told, which he did after an attempt to lie. I've cancelled the wedding and told him I need time to think, but I'm not sure I can get past the cheating. I feel emotionally shattered. It's only been a few days but his family and mine keep calling me trying to get me to feel guilty for my choice. We were paying for our wedding ourselves and it was a small, local affair, but I understand people might be disappointed that something they've waited for isn't going to happen, possibly ever. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, do the families know why? Because if they're blaming you, time to set the record straight, pun intended. Reply, no they don't, I feel weird outing him, so to speak, I've been trying to figure out how to tell them without giving all the details. I know it's odd but I still feel like I owe him that, and I don't know why. Commenter 2, it doesn't matter what anyone else thinks or feels about it. This is your decision alone and you shouldn't be guilted into doing so. It's wild that he hid that from you at all but then to tell you on the night before your wedding. Be thankful this was before it was done so you can think about it before taking that plunge. Commenter 3, one thing I wasn't aware of is that they were involved, and that my possible ex is still in love with him, and the feeling is mutual. I've cancelled the wedding and told him I need time to think, but I'm not sure I can get past the cheating. You can't get married when he's already in a relationship with someone he loves, who also loves him back. He may be bi, but you didn't agree to an open relationship. You also didn't agree to accept his lies. It's only been a few days but his family and mine keep calling me trying to get me to feel guilty for my choice. I read in your reply you are choosing not to be vindictive by outing him. However, you can tell them he cheated, and if they want more details to ask him. I'm really sorry this blew up your special day. I also think you're making the best decision by not moving forward with the wedding. Update. I'm sorry it's taken a bit to update, I've been waiting for things to settle and it's taken a while. When I wrote my post I was emotionally wrecked and desperately in need of an outsider's perspective. I haven't answered every comment I got, but I have read them all and wanted to say thank you to everyone who took their time to reply. Most of the comments were very thoughtful and supportive, and I can't tell you how much that meant. On to the situation itself. I gave myself some time to get my head straight and get tested. Thankfully I was given the all clear for my tests, so the next thing was to deal with everything. I invited my ex-fiancé and his best friend over for dinner. I know that sounds weird to do, but I thought I wanted to talk to them, and do it in a scenario we were all comfortable in, or as comfortable as we could be. They agreed. Being able to observe the both of them through a new lens also really helped, and they're definitely in love with one another just by their mannerisms and the way they are when they think no one is looking. I wish I'd clocked on so much sooner. My ex kept apologizing, and the more he apologized, the more upset his best friend was getting, and the more he retracted that apology to the best friend. I told him it wasn't about apologies anymore, I just wanted to understand. What I think I've gathered from the whole thing is that, as many of you have pointed out, I've been an unsuspecting beard for our entire relationship. Granted, it seems to be unwittingly, but still. I think there's some deep homophobia running through my ex, as he reacted negatively when I asked if he thought perhaps he might be gay, not bi, and when his best friend tried to talk, he shut him down so fast I actually felt a little bit bad for him, the bestie. I also found out that where I thought he told his family he was bi, he actually hasn't. Some of our mutual close friends know, but that seems to be it. Nevertheless, my ex and I are not getting back together, the engagement is officially over, and I've swapped out my phone number to avoid some of the ridiculous texts I'm getting from various guests. To those who've asked, after discussing it with my ex, I've simply said that he's not who I thought he was, and left it at that. It's the truth without going into any details. It's up to him if he wants to stay in the closet, but I'm not getting involved any longer. I gave him back his engagement ring, and though he asked if we could keep in touch, I feel like it's done. His best friend also offered to pay for my wedding dress as an apology for his part in it. I declined, but the offer was still nice. I will be moving soon, found a place, just waiting for the moving date, and I'm looking forward to starting fresh in a new home. I realized I couldn't be in that house and wonder as I went round where my ex and his best friend had cheated on me, and analyzing every memory. It's been exhausting and I'm still very much devastated, but I am so glad I went with my gut and cancelled the wedding when I did, because it would have been such a mistake to go ahead with it. I've gotten a therapist to help me, and I suggested, gently, that my ex and his best friend also get one. I don't know if they will, but I think it'd help the both of them. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, I am extremely sorry that you had to go through all this. Your ex is in desperate need of therapy. I hope that you can find someone who actually understands you and himself and can love you with his whole heart. And if your ex's family pester you, you can just direct them to him and block them. Good thing you are getting a new number, it will help so that there are less people to annoy you. Sending you lots of internet hugs. Reply, thank you so much, it's been hard, I won't lie. I'm just so glad I didn't give in to pressure and go ahead with the wedding. Did OOP know if her ex's best friend was gay or bi? Reply, I did know his best friend is gay, yes, but it never occurred to me that there was anything other than brotherly friendship between them, though looking back they were and have always been very affectionate towards each other, though I dismissed it because the best friend is quite a touchy-feely person anyway. Commenter 2, you did the right thing cancelling your wedding. As bad as this is now, going through a divorce a few years down the line would be even worse. Your ex needs therapy to figure out who and what he wants. Commenter 3, you should 100% take up the offer of him paying you back. They both knowingly scammed the shit out of you. They had you contributing to a fake wedding that was a mask so they could continue to cheat in private while letting you fuck up your life in the process. They should both be paying you back every cent you spent, and frankly paying you back for every gift you spent on everything they got out of you, because they knew from day one what they were doing. He knowingly cheated on you from the start. He was with this guy from the start. He was using you from the start. He's caused you to lose money, but he's cost you time, years of your life basically wasted on being with him. The minimum they owe you is making you financially restored from anything you ever wasted on them. Stories number 21. My partner, 28M, is a Trump supporter. I, 25F, can't respect him. My partner, 28M, and I, 25F, have been together for the last 4 years, notably long distance for the last 2 years of our relationship up to now. We met at the end of a graduate program for public law, aka we were constantly discussing politics and policy impacts on people. We've been long distance to pursue jobs prior to law school. he worked in accounting, I worked as a military historian, and are still currently long distance. I would consider us the classic case of opposites attract. We laugh at all the same jokes and we can banter for hours about nothing. It feels like he is the other half of my brain. To be very real with y'all, I am not someone who cares about physical appearance of my partner because I'm more interested in an intellectual connection. We bonded greatly over a mutual interest in 20th century military history. The opposite comes from our different political views. Given the subject matter of our graduate program, he told me very early on that he was a classical conservative. I never got clarification on what he meant by this over the last 4 years, and a registered Republican. On the other hand, I spent the last election cycle campaigning for Democratic candidates and I've always only no voting blue. In the last 4 years, I have not skipped any opportunity to grill him on items of constitutional justice and general ethical principles, and I grew to love him over the years because I felt like we mutually agreed on items of political and social importance. I've always been very America first, in the sense that I believe the most in extending liberty and justice for all to everyone, especially immigrants and historically marginalized communities. I am going to get really honest here. I feel stupid saying this and it's probably the main reason why I am using a burner. There has been unspoken tension since the 2024 election with Trump coming into office. My partner only told me he voted for Trump at the end of election day, nearly 3.5 years into multiple discussions at length. Even as a self-proclaimed socialist, I come from a family of Midwestern libertarians who don't support the current administration, another story, so I can honestly say I understand the conservative perspective of many Americans. But most importantly, I am intimately familiar with the voices of conservatives and Republicans against Trump. I thought my boyfriend was one of those. I was wrong. He spends every day engaging in conversations about how poorly the state of America and the economy are going. But he refuses to acknowledge his part in voting his president in. I don't know, I guess the cognitive dissonance is really icky to me. Any political discussion has now become a regurgitation of Fox News headlines or he's asking if I've seen specific content from random alt-right creators. He sends me links to their content as if they were funny memes, instead of an hour-long think piece on why a balding man should be allowed to own his wife. I feel like I don't respect my partner anymore. Politics aside, not being able to have a backbone in owning up to your beliefs is sad. I can't help but think this man cannot be the future father of my children or the man making decisions in my name. I guess the question here is, do I give him a chance to make this work? Or cut my losses? Top comments. Commenter 1, you can disagree about tax policy and the zoning code and have a healthy relationship. You can't have a healthy relationship if you disagree about basic concepts of ethics and reality. End this. Commenter 2, yes, the boyfriend is not the only one deep in the thrall of cognitive dissonance. OP knows who he is, and knows what she should do. Commenter 3, I don't like my partner. What should I do? Commenter 4, honestly, it's a step up from, IF18 don't like my partner M34, how can I be a better partner? Ice coffee drips, to be very real with y'all, I am not someone who cares about physical appearance of my partner because I'm more interested in an intellectual connection. So he's ugly too. Commenter 5, I'm dying. You can't be ugly, a bigot, and keep your girlfriend. Gotta pick one. Update. Thank you all for your honesty and time in commenting. TLDR, broke up with him, he did not take it well. I can honestly say I read every comment, and it sucked being forced to recognize the reality of my situation, but I am very grateful. Like many of you mentioned, I think I came here to get validation on a decision I already knew I had to make, but I selfishly or stupidly was grasping onto any straws. This morning, I asked him to call me so we could speak about our relationship. I was direct with him in stating that I don't think our values are mutually compatible, and it's causing me a lot of internal turmoil and stress because I am constantly trying to justify my beliefs while trying to engage as a partner in his beliefs. He started getting upset with me because he didn't think I emotionally catered to his level of emotional maturity. Context: I've been in therapy since I was a child due to a criminal event. He started therapy this year at my request. He further explained that he did not feel like I was giving him a chance to make improvements. After getting reamed by the comments for hours, I was tired and I wished him the best and went no contact on everything. I feel a lot better. Thank you guys, might update again, but mainly coming back to say to anyone in a similar situation, the shame isn't worth the love you think you'll get. Stories number 22. Aita for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself. I go to the gym a lot. About 6-ish months ago I noticed a woman I'll call Andrea. That's not her name, but it will be for the rest of this post. I don't know if Andrea started going to the gym 6 months ago or if that's just when I noticed her. Full disclosure, I spoke to her first, but I had no way of knowing what the result would be. A lot of the machines at this gym have little entertainment systems attached to them that can access local channels. I got on a treadmill and realized the TV on the treadmill wasn't working. Andrea was walking past and I said, "Hey, do you know if there's an issue with the cable? This TV isn't working, but I don't know if it's just this one or all of them." She said the same thing happened to her on a different machine. I thanked her. That was the whole interaction. A week later she asked me for some electrolyte powder for her water. I said I didn't have any. She was cool with that and asked me how long I'd been coming to the gym and what I did for work. I answered and returned her questions. She said she was new to the area and worked in private security. We had a few more chill conversations after that. 6 weeks ago she asked me out. For reasons I won't get into here, I wasn't interested. I declined. She said not to worry about things being awkward at the gym if we don't work out. I said that wasn't the issue, just not looking to date right now. She kept talking to me, and at first I kept talking to her, but I started to think something might be wrong, and I started avoiding her. 2 weeks ago she walked up to me while I was on a machine with only one way to properly dismount that involved stepping into weight she was standing. She asked if I was avoiding her. I said I was and apologized. I said I just don't want to date right now. She said I don't have to avoid her to not date her. I said okay. I kept avoiding her though. Tonight while I was working out she confronted me again about avoiding her. I had a bad day and told her to leave me alone. She asked why I'm being such a prick, and I said because I wanted her to leave me alone. I then said that she was embarrassing herself and needs to stop. She put her foot on top of the weights, and I thought she was going to press down on them, so I let go of the bar very quickly, causing the weights to slam and make a loud noise. Several people looked over. She said, "Now who's embarrassing himself," and walked away. Did I go too far by saying that? Do I owe her an apology? Update: I went in early this morning for a run and told the front desk staff about Andrea putting her foot on the weights. They said they would talk to her. Then after work, I went in again for a regular workout. I was working on my legs when she walked up to my machine. The first thing she did was apologize about the weights. I don't know if someone talked to her or if that was of her own initiative. I accepted her apology and apologized for saying she was embarrassing herself. She said she forgave me, but if I wanted to really make it up to her I could buy her a drink and she would buy me one too to make up for the weights. I said maybe we should buy our own drinks, meaning separately at different places and times, and she misunderstood me and asked when and where. I told her I meant that I didn't want to go out with her. She said this wouldn't be a date but a reset for our friendship. I said I didn't want to be friends. She said I was being a douche and asked what my problem is. I said the weight incident made me uncomfortable, and I would rather us just give each other space. She then asked me if my problem with her is that she's Hispanic. I was so taken aback. I didn't even know she was until she said that. I said no, that she just makes me uncomfortable. She wanted me to explain what about her made me uncomfortable, and I tried to do so, but she argued with every point I made. I got frustrated and told her to just stay away from me. She said fine and that I have a lot of maturing to do. Then she walked away. I'm hoping that's the end of it. Update: Aita for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself. A woman at my gym, Andrea, fake name, asked me out after some normal not at all romantic interactions. I turned her down and shortly after I stated getting a weird vibe from her and started avoiding her. She confronted me about avoiding her twice, and the second time I said she was embarrassing herself, after which she put her foot on the weight stack of the machine I was using, causing me to let go of the bar really quickly and slam the weights. I initially thought I was the asshole for my rude comment, and most posters said I actually underreacted and should talk to gym management, which I did, after which Andrea confronted me again and asked me out again. I turned her down, we argued briefly and she said I needed to grow up. Actual update: Andrea is banned from the gym. I was running on the treadmill and watching TV. She came up to talk to me, and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She raised her voice and I continued to ignore her. She reached out and pulled the safety tab out of the treadmill, the one you connect to your wrist so the treadmill stops if you fall, causing the treadmill to come to a sudden stop. I tripped and fell onto the controls and TV, scratching my chin on the top of the screen. I went to the front desk with Andrea following me. I told them what she did. She kept trying to interrupt me and talk over me, but the woman at the front desk told her to be quiet and wait her turn. I told her Andrea pulled out the safety tab while I was running and injured me. The woman at the front desk then asked Andrea what happened. Andrea said I was staring into the middle distance, like I was in some kind of voyage state, and she thought I was having a medical episode so she pulled the tab. The woman at the front desk asked for her membership card. Andrea didn't want to give it to her, but the woman at the front desk said if she didn't she would ban her. Andrea gave her the card and the woman at the front desk said to leave and she was suspended for a month. Andrea objected and got into an argument with the woman at the front desk that escalated into Andrea calling the woman an N-word B-word. So she was banned permanently. I hesitate to call that a happy ending because the poor gym employee had to put up with racial harassment, but I won't deny getting to watch her cut up Andrea's membership card felt good. Stories number 23. My husband went out on a date with a woman at my son's daycare. My husband does daycare drop-offs and pickups because he has a very flexible schedule and I don't. So the daycare teachers and moms at the daycare recognize my husband. Please don't be hateful. My husband's job is also on the way to daycare. My job is on the opposite side. I've been to the daycare a few times. Last month was muffins with moms at my daycare. It was in the morning during drop-off. My husband went to drop off my son. Everyone at the daycare thinks my husband is a single dad and that my husband does so much more than me. The daycare moms joke and call him Mr. Mom. They always say how they wish their husbands were more active like my husband. It's so crazy because I do everything else. He's only been to one of the PEDS appointments and that's when my son was first born because I obviously couldn't drive. I keep up with all my son's appointments, handle scheduling, outside activities. I do all the cooking, cleaning, and childcare once I get home from work. My husband wouldn't be able to tell you what size Pampers our son wears. He does help out when I ask him to, but the housework and childcare does fall on me. Anyways, a single mom asked my husband out 2 weeks ago for coffee. They were both chatting at Muffins with Mom and they were talking about this new local coffee spot. He thought it was friendly. But she paid for his coffee and bagel and she said she would love to do this again and gave him a hug. And I saw their messages and she was being flirty, sending heart emojis and just praising him for being a dad. Haha, if being a dad is just dropping off your kid and picking them up from daycare. Like wow, she knows about me too. My husband talks about me and even on their text messages he brought me up in a conversation and she just pretends like he didn't bring me up and changes the topic. My husband was like, I think she likes me. Like no shit. I want him to block her but he doesn't want to make it awkward because he does see her every morning and our kids are in the same class. ETA, for the people that are calling my post AI. LOL, I don't get how since I don't even have close to perfect grammar. This is obviously my own language and speech. I mean I'm flattered but I know I don't write perfectly at all. And for the people that actually don't believe what happened to me, then don't. That's not my problem. A lot of people are confused and calling my post out because they don't believe this happens to men. My response to that to people that are saying that, you clearly don't have children and you're clearly not a woman and don't understand double standards in society. Men don't usually participate in any children's events and when a man goes alone people do assume he's a single dad. Especially where I live, if you're a father and your child to the PDs, with no wife, people are gonna assume you're a single father because men aren't at these children settings. It's stereotypes and double standards. I work in healthcare. I worked in different settings in healthcare and I barely ever seen a father with a child. People do think in their head, wow great dad, when they see a dad that they recognize at the PDS office, daycare, and school. I've literally heard it myself too since I worked at these kinds of settings. I'm also a woman and a mom and I've heard my own circle do this same exact thing. Stories number 24. Aita for refusing to pay half of the furniture cost for things I don't want or need. My girlfriend and I moved into the apartment we currently live in around 2 years ago. The apartment was unfurnished apart from the electricals in the kitchen, fridge freezer, washing machine and oven, so we had to but most of it new. I had a fairly new TV so I brought that, my GF had a new chest of drawers so she brought that. Everything else we bought together so we bought a sofa, bookshelf, new TV stand, bedside cabinets and a dining table and chairs. We've added other things since then for decoration but we have everything we need and it's in good condition. My GF mentioned last week about wanting a new sofa. The one we have is still in great condition and I like it so I said I don't really want to be replacing something for no reason. She mentioned looking for a nicer one but I just repeated again it would be wasting money. She mentioned also looking for a new chest or drawers and bedside cabinet. I mentioned she was free to buy new ones but I won't be paying towards them as they're not needed and they're only for her. She said I should be paying my half since I also live here but I just pointed out the drawers are only filled with her things and the bedside cabinets we currently have are still in good condition and don't need replacing. She was still going on about wanting to replace them but I just pointed out it's wasteful to replace things in good condition just because she feels like it. I said I'm not willing to waste my money on things that we don't need. She got annoyed and said I should be paying my way. I asked if she'd pay if I decided I wanted a new TV and bought an expensive one but she said that's different but wouldn't explain how. Aita for not paying towards the furniture. Stories number 25. My husband wants me to get a hysterectomy for my own health and comfort, but I don't want to part with my own organ. Edit. I have learned that not only are there multiple types of hysterectomy surgeries, but menopause is only forced if both your ovaries are removed along with the uterus. I'm going to call my OBGYN tomorrow and schedule a consultation to learn more about all the surgical options and effects. She's been there since my first baby, so we have a good relationship and I know she'll be really helpful and empathetic. Also, I only ever even mentioned my husband because we had just been discussing the possible options and scheduling for whatever treatment I chose, but I was still feeling unsure, so I wanted some women's perspectives. Yes, he is involved in my decision, because we have a baby who I won't be able to lift and change for a bit after surgery, so he wants it scheduled when he will be able to stay home to do the house and child care, meals, driving the older kids to school and activities, take care of the pets and plants, etc., which he can't do during the summer when he's pouring concrete for 12 hours a day. Teamwork makes the dream work and all that. I, 31F, have been with my husband, 31M, for 14 years, married for 9. We have 3 children, 12, 10, and 15 months. We've already decided together we don't want to have any more since our older kids are going to be teens soon and we want to be able to be there for them fully throughout that tough time in their lives without being distracted or pulled away by multiple toddlers kindergartners. He doesn't have any issue with getting a vasectomy and isn't encouraging me to get a hysterectomy to avoid it. It's because I have adenomyosis. Basically, this is when the endometrial tissue that comes out as your period grows inside your uterine muscles and between the muscle fibers. This causes extremely painful cramping, very heavy and long menstruation, and a lot of clotting, and the uterus thickens and enlarges over time. My periods average 8 days, and I get sharp cramps in my abdomen that radiate from my shoulders to my knees for about 13 days a month. Having had 3 kids, I'm not lying when I tell you it feels like labor, and my cramps have registered as contractions while I was getting an ultrasound on my period before. The non-surgical long-term treatment is getting an implant hormonal birth control like Mirena or Nexplanon, but the issue with those is that I'm also a type 1 diabetic, and progesterone, even the naturally produced progesterone as part of my cycle, almost triples my insulin resistance, so I need to use way more. I've always used Paragard because needing to use that much insulin makes me gain so much weight so fast, which makes me need more insulin, which makes me gain more weight. You see the issue. Obviously this has messed with our sex life. Now, I know we hear a lot about the weaponized incompetence husbands and the emotionally immature husbands, but mine is not at all that. He's understanding, supportive, and picks up a lot of the load of our partnership when I'm unable without complaining. But of course, going without sex for half the month every single month makes it easy for both of us to feel less connected and more cranky. Not to mention, he doesn't like seeing me in pain and sick and not having any way he can help me feel better beyond what he's already doing. It also makes it so I can only do gig work from home, so it's entirely on him to make sure we have health insurance that'll cover all my diabetic needs. He's in the concrete union, so it's not a problem at the moment, but construction is seasonal, and with the way Trump is going, the tariffs and union crackdowns could screw that all up so fast. Anyway, because his work is seasonal, he thinks it would be best for me to schedule the surgery for December-January so that he'll be home to take care of the baby and drive the kids to school and take care of all the house stuff until I'm fully recovered, so that means I have to schedule a consultation with my OBGYN soon, but I just find myself mentally resisting it a lot and haven't made the call. I think my biggest fear is that, with being diabetic, my expected lifespan is already lessened by 10 years, but getting a hysterectomy forces your body to go through menopause, and women who go through early menopause also have a reduced life expectancy, so I'd be looking at 15 to 20 less years. I want to be around for all of my kids as long as they need me for, as long as I physically can be. I could take hormone replacement, but again, with the way Trump is going we simply cannot count on HRT being available, and maybe it's because I already have one organ that doesn't work. I don't want to give up any more if I don't have to. Sorry for the long post. Thank you so much if you've gotten this far reading it all. I guess I'm wondering, does anyone else deal with advanced adenomyosis? Have you found any way to cope with the symptoms besides birth control? Does anyone know of any treatments besides a hysterectomy? Thank y'all so much in advance for you listening and whatever advice you may have. Stories number 26. A 4 years later update. Wibta, if I stop supporting my disabled father over his preferential treatment towards my siblings. I, 26M, have 2 sisters, 18 and 23, from the same mum and dad, 50s. When I was 16 my parents went through a messy divorce which resulted in my sisters staying with my mum, and I stayed with my dad. My dad is disabled and has been unable to work due to a long list of medical issues since I was 16. He has kidney failure and is currently on dialysis while waiting for a transplant. This has meant that I have been looking after him in a variety of caretaker ways for a decade now. Throughout this time his contact with my two sisters has been minimal. He has in the past allowed my eldest sister to claim benefits that she was not entitled to by claiming to be a carer for my father amongst others. She has at no point in her life provided care for my dad. This caused many fights between my dad and I, as I felt he was allowing her to commit fraud just so he could feel like he was helping her. I was recently contacted by his doctor, who told me that my dad was no longer on the transplant list to receive the kidney transplant he needs. Apparently his health is now so poor that they don't know for sure if he'll survive general anesthetic for the op. I was told that a major factor for this was his poor diet, which was exacerbating his existing health issues. Hearing this, my wife and I decided to move back in with my dad to try and get him onto a healthier diet to hopefully prepare his body for the transplant he needs. After we moved in, I was going through his most recent letters when I discovered a letter informing him that my youngest sister had applied for a grant for young carers as a result of caring for him. My dad is lucky to see my sister once a month, let alone the 16 hours a week this grant requires. I confronted him and he said he was just trying to help her out in any way he could. This again led to a massive fight, as currently me and my wife are the only family members supporting him. My sisters do nothing for him. They are both adults and yet neither has lifted a single finger once to help him. And yet, here he is again essentially committing fraud to help them out. We can't help but feel taken for granted and simply unappreciated. We do everything we possibly can for him, sacrifice our time, energy, and money to ensure he has a more comfortable life, but time and again he chooses to focus his energy on helping my sisters cheat their way to funds and benefits they don't deserve. He's never once asked them to help him, so the burden of responsibility for his care rests entirely on our shoulders, despite the fact that of the 3 siblings I am the only one not currently receiving any benefit related to his care. We are now at the point where we are considering pulling all our support, financial and physical, and leaving his care entirely to the 2 women who are actually benefiting from providing it. Wipta for withdrawing support from my father. Sum of comments. Commenter: does allowing your sisters to claim carer's allowance impact on the amount of support you and your wife are able to claim? And have you ever asked your sisters to help with his care? If so, how did they respond? Reply: we are comfortable financially and are no longer students, so are no longer eligible for any financial support. I have never received any benefits for his care, though, due to being in full-time education at the time. The rules around this may have changed now. I have repeatedly asked my sisters to help my dad, with specific reference to the benefits they receive as a result of his disability. The response every time has been a "fuck off, this is between me and dad. I don't give a fuck what you think," paraphrased but not far off. Reply: I don't think I'd ever be able to report them, as there would be a high chance he'd have his benefits revoked. In the UK, getting disability benefit is not easy, months of physical assessment, appeals, and then reassessment. That would just be cruel to him, Imo. However, we provide so much more to him on top of that, with a decent chunk of my monthly income going to his utilities to ensure he can live in a warm home with some luxuries, internet, Netflix, etc. It's just hard seeing my sisters raking in monthly in benefits a sum roughly equivalent to what we spend every month on him. Can't help but feel like it's been taken from our pocket and going straight into theirs, even if that isn't directly what's happening. Commenter: info: have you applied for support and been denied because of them? Or has he refused to do whatever he needs to do for you to apply for support? Reply: apologies, max char limit on the post. I have only received a grant for low-income support for uni, as he was the only parent I had supporting me, nothing else. My eldest sister has also received this, by putting him down as her sole parent despite living with my well-off mother, as well as a car that he receives for his care. I was expecting to receive this car, significantly cheaper rental and insurance compared to normal, and then use it for us while I lived with him, but he instead decided to give it to my sister when she passed her test first, and then refused to take it back and give it to me. This car is supposed to be exclusively for his care and nothing else. In the 4 years she has had it, she has never used it for him once, although she does pay the rental for it. The support my youngest sis is requesting will not impact me, but will be another instance of him willing to bend over backwards and break the law to help them, despite nothing in return. To commenters telling him to leave his dad. Reply: he's severely depressed and his mental state is such that I doubt that he'd be able to make the changes to his lifestyle required to effectively save his life. He is still my father and I do see keeping him alive as my responsibility, so it's not as simple or as easy as you may suggest. It is worth pointing out that if his mental state were to improve, he would be able to cook and clean for himself, to a basic degree, but as it is right now, that's out of his abilities. To another commenter: yeah, when you get told by his doctor that unless he starts doing X he will die soon, it places a lot of stress on you to resolve that, as I do love him. Finding appropriate boundaries is what I've been struggling with, as with the previous setup we had his health was being impacted. What's the ideal distribution between his needs and my needs? How much can I step away without feeling guilt when he does eventually die? That's part of the reason I posted here, to understand if prioritizing my needs and removing my existing support would be an asshole thing to do to him. For what it's worth, I only read his mail as I had to find his disability assessment docs to apply for a new disabled parking permit, as the application is online and he's not tech savvy enough to do it himself. Just stumbled across it in the process. OOP's relationship with his sisters. I will say that my attitude towards them getting benefits they don't deserve and aren't entitled to is definitely impacted by our upbringing. Post-divorce, I lived with my dad, whose sole income was benefits. We lived in poverty but made do as best we could. My mother, however, is fairly successful in her career and lives a very comfortable life with enough on her own income, let alone combined with her husband, to give my sisters everything could want and more. She has contributed nothing to me financially since the age of 16, and was even claiming childcare from my dad for my sisters, despite us being in poverty. So with that in mind, to see them try to feign poverty and pretend to be poor despite being comfortably upper middle class just sickens me. And my father enables that behavior, and what has it got him? One daughter who won't even call him on his birthday, and another who calls him twice a month, and that's it. I want him to actually stand up to them and go, if you're willing to claim money off the back of my illness, then you can come and help me with it, as otherwise the entirety of that caregiving burden falls on me and my wife. And quite frankly, we're sick of it being that way. One more example from OOP. No, he's not mean, but it feels like the airline saying, put on your own mask before helping others. It takes a massive mental toll on both myself and my wife, and at this point feel like it's unappreciated. He'll go out of his way to help my sisters, but won't do what's necessary to help us help him. A minor, slightly off-topic, example is the fact that he spends more money on my sisters at birthdays, Christmas than my wife, despite my wife having done more for him in the few years she's known him than my sisters have done in their entire lives combined. After a certain point you can't help but think, if he doesn't appreciate what we do, why should we continue to do it? Update post. I remembered this post as my dad's birthday recently passed and thought I might as well give an update, even though no one asked. In January 2023, my father passed away from complete kidney failure. It wasn't a surprise to me, his health had been in decline, and a transplant wasn't going to happen. The rest of the family, though, were shocked. The last time he spoke to anyone, I showed him the 7-week scan of my now 2-year-old son, his first and only grandchild. We'd rushed to get the earliest scan we could, knowing he didn't have much time. My son looked like a seahorse tadpole. He cried when I showed him, and we had a short talk about fatherhood before exhaustion took over. He fell asleep and never woke up. I asked him not to tell anyone since we were still early and didn't want to jinx it. He said, "I'll take it to the grave," and passed away 3 days later. He kept his word. I think seeing the scan and having that moment made him die happy. As for my sisters, they never changed. I let it go. I knew I couldn't change my dad and he was on borrowed time. For his birthday that year, we rented a canal boat since he'd always wanted one. He crashed it almost immediately. They gave him less and less consideration, ignoring him completely on what turned out to be his last birthday. No visit, no call, not even a text. He was devastated and reduced contact with them, though he never stopped helping them financially. When they found out he was dying, they rushed to his side and stayed until he passed. But like before, it was too little, too late. He was already unconscious. They hadn't shown urgency when he was first admitted, only showing up when I told them he had chosen to end life support. I'd been told the day he was admitted, over 2 weeks earlier, that he might not survive. I believed it. I'd seen him in these situations before, and this time felt different. The rest of the family still thought he would recover and didn't treat him as a priority. Eventually, my dad asked me if he was dying. Everyone else had been giving him false hope, mostly for themselves, so I had to tell him, "Yes, you're going to die soon." That was not an easy conversation. He passed surrounded by family who barely gave him their time when he was alive. My sisters definitely regret how they treated him, but it's too late. We were civil at the funeral but haven't spoken since. I scattered my share of his ashes at the end of the canal he never got to see. My sisters turned theirs into jewelry. I miss him every day, especially as his grandson looks so much like him. It's a shame things never got resolved with his daughters while he was alive, but I think he died a happy man, and that's enough for me. Stories number 27. Stepdaughter almost drowned in my pool and her mom and others are blaming me. Aita. Saturday night I came back home at around 6 p.m. and my husband called me saying that he was supposed to pick up his daughter, 5, from her mom's and that he's stuck at work so her mom would drop her off at our place. I said okay and I was watching TV and expecting them to arrive soon. Around 8 p.m. my dog started barking and jumping at the window and when I went to see what's going on I noticed the pool water was wavy. I went outside and saw the little girl in the water and she was unconscious. I pulled her out and she wasn't breathing. I called the ambulance while trying to revive her. The ambulance arrived within 10 minutes and I genuinely thought she drowned, but thankfully they managed to save her. She is completely okay now. The thing is, I had no idea that her mom had already dropped her off. She didn't knock or anything, so she probably just left her in front of the house. Her mom also came when she found out and she was trying to blame me, telling me I tried to murder her daughter. I already told my husband that they didn't knock or enter the house and I had no idea the girl was even there. Everything became even more messy. Basically the woman kept on yelling at me, telling me how she's going to fight me and things like how she's going to hold me underwater, so I see how that feels. First off all, if it wasn't for my dog barking at the window I would have no idea the girl was in the pool and she would drown, because I had no fucking idea that the moron dropped her off in front of the house without even knocking or anything. I said this and she spit at me. The police ended up holding her back and then my husband came back too and it was just so shitty. After this I got calls from her parents and they also tried to threaten me on phone, but I just shut them down. A couple other people who she said her version of this to called me and yeah, same thing. I know or at least feel like it's not my fault, but ATP I want to clarify more. I forgot to say that I do have a fence around the house, in the backyard, and it's usually locked, but that day it wasn't, which I know is my fault. Also, as I said, this is my house. This was the first time the girl was here, so I have no idea why would her mom just drop her off in front of a house she's never been to, and no idea why did the girl go for the pool when she couldn't have seen it from the street. Why did she go to backyard? I'm not blaming her, I'm just explaining. Also my country doesn't have a law for fence directly around the pool, there is usually a cover, but I wanted the water to get warmer. I don't live here but I'm currently renovating. Stories number 28. Dad enables mean daughter mocking her cousin because he thinks the cousin won't find out. My wife and her younger sister are best friends. As a result, when our middle daughter and her cousin were born around the same time, my wife really expected them to also be best friends. With 16 years of hindsight, I can say with certainty that the expectation was misplaced. Nothing happened in particular. My daughter just doesn't like her cousin. My wife keeps pushing the relationship. This includes making my daughter spend time with her cousin during family gatherings, inviting her cousin on trips, forcing my daughter to call her. We're pretty sure I'm the favorite parent, a fact that keeps my ego well inflated, and therefore, my apathy towards the situation is not well received by my wife. From my perspective, this isn't important, and I do not possess the ability to make two teenagers become friends. I'm also pretty sure that trying to push this kind of knucklehead stuff makes kids not want to speak to you. This is where I'm probably an asshole. Yesterday, my wife forced my daughter to video call her cousin. My daughter rejected to request, and my wife told her, unless you have a valid reason for disliking your cousin, you will do this because we're family. The call occurred. This morning, we awoke to a PowerPoint presentation titled Valid Reasons to Dislike Cousin. Using clips from the Zoom call, segments included Why is Cousins' Voice So Grating? A music theory approach, a case study, conversations that provide no value, rethinking the idea that there are no dumb questions, etc. With the benefit of a couple of hours of hindsight, it was a very cruel takedown of her cousin's entire personality. My wife was furious. My eldest daughter and I lost our shit laughing. My wife is demanding I support her in punishing my daughter for bullying her cousin. I have refused because I feel this whole situation wouldn't have occurred if she didn't push the relationship, but I'm starting to have second thoughts because it was very mean. Aita comments. I'd also just like to say, I feel incredibly bad about laughing. She just started with a music theory lecture about some special discordant chord. Then, she had a video of the chord that immediately went into a Zoom clip of her cousin producing the same notes. I just couldn't hold it in. Reply, she just used the clips. I made her delete that thing immediately after. Commenter 1, info, did the cousin see the presentation? Reply, God no. Second post. I have a really good relationship with my sister and thought our families got along pretty well. My daughter is a little socially awkward and always looked forward to visiting with her cousins because they're around her age. It wasn't that frequent of a thing, just calls on birthdays, holiday visits, and the occasional family trip to the beach. With the pandemic, we haven't been able to do family trips, so instead we've started trying to stay in touch via family Zoom video chats instead. A week or so ago we did a call just to check in and say hi. My daughter was happy to see her aunt and her cousins. She had mentioned that the cousin closest to her age had been acting weird, but we figured it was just pandemic-related stress and let it go. We decided to stop by to drop off their Christmas gifts the other day and stayed on the porch. For safety reasons because of the pandemic. My brother-in-law answered, I'm pretty sure he's never liked me, but that's probably irrelevant, and told me to just wait there while he got my sister to deal with us. While he was gone, their oldest daughter came to the door with a smirk on her face and asked how we were doing. We had some idle chatter, then she mentioned something about how if we had a gift for her sister, the middle daughter 16F from the title, we should probably just give it to her instead, or take it back. I asked why, and she whipped out her tablet and showed me a recording of a presentation where middle cousin had recorded clips from the Zoom call with my daughter and spent the entire time mocking her. I won't get into specifics, but it was incredibly hurtful, and my daughter started crying and walked away to sit in the car before the video presentation was even finished. I was so shocked I didn't know what to say. By the time my sister came to the door I was in tears myself. My sister saw her eldest with the tablet and seemed to immediately know what had happened and asked her to go back inside. My sister looked at me and told me she was sorry, but all I could do was shake my head and gather the gifts to leave. I spent the evening with my daughter trying to cheer her up, but I don't think this is the type of thing she's going to get over quickly. I get that she's not as outgoing as her cousins, and that they just had a familial relationship instead of being outright friends, but she did at least think her cousins loved her as family. She and I are both crushed to find out we were wrong on that assumption. I'm at a loss here. First of all, I'm not sure what I can say or do to ever repair the relationship between my daughter and her cousins. I'm not even sure I want to try. Secondly, I'm not sure how I can ever be in the same room with my sister's children knowing this has happened. This feels like an enormous rift in our relationship that I'm not sure how to bridge. My sister has left a couple of tearful voicemails and I do truly believe she feels remorse, but I haven't heard a thing from any of the others in the family. If you all were in my situation, what would you do to repair the relationship? TLDR daughter was shown a presentation where she was recorded and mocked by her cousin. Not sure how to resolve this situation in a way that helps my daughter feel better and repair the relationship with my sister's family. Relevant comments. Commenter 1, scandalous. Correct me if I'm wrong, but this was posted in AITA by the opposing party. Here. Reply, well that's just great. I guess my hunch about my bail was right. Not only did he condone it but he found it hilarious enough to share it with strangers because he didn't think he was an asshole for it. I don't even know what to say. I need time to process this. Replying to a comment, well, I wanted to repair my relationship with that side of my family but seeing the comment I think I'm about done. Commenter 2, yep I'd be done too. Make sure your sister sees what her husband posted so she knows exactly who she's married to then cut them off. Reply, good idea. I can't believe this crap. I'm sitting here fuming because I'm too afraid to get up. I'm worried I'll tip off my daughter that I'm this upset because there's no way I'm telling her about this and breaking her heart even more. And she can tell when I'm angry. So for now I'll just hide at this screen until I calm down a little. My sister knew and should have at least told me so that I could have at least tried to prevent my daughter from finding out. Or addressed it with her in a not public situation like what transpired with her older cousin. Instead she kept it to herself. That whole side of the family, happy freaking holidays to my daughter and I guess. Stories number 29. My father-in-law called my parents and said to leave my wife and I alone for a while. So my wife and I had a baby about a year ago, so it's been some time. I know, my wife wanted her family over all the time at the beginning. Which was fine, but I felt like things were not as fair and balanced as I'd like. Her family was over every single day the first week that the little one was born. My family? They weren't allowed, said my wife, she needed time with her family first and not strangers. Which obviously hurt because strangers. Really? So fast forward and my parents were bringing us dinners the second week, a couple times my dad showed up unannounced because he wanted to bring by some things he thought would be helpful, mind you, this is literally 2 times max, when I'd get home after work the previous week and be greeted by my wife and her entire family. With this, my wife told her dad she felt overwhelmed, and her dad called my dad and said they, my family, need to give us space. After hearing about this I absolutely lost it on my wife. By that point, the balance between family was non-existent and any time I tried to have a say I was told, you don't know what it's like you didn't give birth. Which, of course. While true, that's discounting my say for my newborn that I have a right to just as much as she does, and discounting my say for a house that I, no roast, paid for. Now before anyone says, I'd be interested to hear her side, or yes you are the because after marriage, it's teamwork. Let me just cut past that by the fact that it's been a year since I brought this up. The reason I'm bringing it up now is I feel gaslit and blamed a lot in my marriage and I'm only seeing it now because we literally see her family like 10 times a week, multiple times a day sometimes. We see my family 2 times a month, max. So I'm feeling anger, frustration and the loss of balance and control that I thought we had. When I brought this to her attention, she said, what to tell you, it doesn't need to be 50-50. What? Every time we go see my family we have to see yours too? No. That doesn't work for me. Any pushback I give she says I'm choosing my family over her. So only now I'm seeing this as a real problem. Or Ada here and I'm thinking too deeply into these things. Or is this a controlling relationship and this needs to stop now? Help please. Stories number 30. Be very careful who you let into your home. A year ago an old friend from the 90s called me and begged to move into my spare bedroom which wasn't for rent and was used as my craft room. She has been a drug-addicted alcoholic for years now, although it was my understanding that she was off the meth. I know she uses Xanax and alcohol daily. Her kids have been removed and are in foster care. She doesn't work because she claims she is disabled. Her ex-husband hit her leg and caused permanent damage. She doesn't have a car and she just sits around the house all day. Today I get home from work and I notice my new bathroom sink is covered in stains. I just spent $500 to get that sink and have it installed. I have nothing new. All the porcelain is covered in brown stains that refuse to come off even with bleach and rubbing alcohol. She ruined it with hair dye while being drunk off her ass. Tried the magic eraser and everything. It's permanently ruined. I told her she can either replace the sink and pay for installation or be evicted. She whined and said she has no money and I told her that's not my problem. She survives off her underemployed boyfriend who she has a toxic relationship with. They moved in here together and I regret it so much. They don't have respect for my condo, their bedroom door is stained black and my walls are filthy and my floors are being ruined since they moved in. They're always home so they're very hard on their surroundings. I do plan to evict her if she doesn't replace the new sink she destroyed. Some people just make everything worse. Stories number 31. Ada for telling an exchange student to not date my son and possibly ending my marriage. So, I, 40F, have 2 kids, my daughter Liz, 12, and son Toby, 19. I'm going to be honest, Toby has become a perverted degenerate. Because Toby is his son, my husband, 54, tended to spoil Toby a lot and indulge his interest, which included 18+ movies and my husband's stash of old Playboys. My husband would say, he's a teenager, let him be, despite me telling him that Toby was growing to be a degenerate. This was especially true for Asian women. We had an Asian cleaner, we're pretty well off, who Toby would hit on and harass until she smacked him across the face when he tried to lift her skirt. My husband wanted to press charges, but I threatened to divorce him if he did and I would make sure everybody knew what a pervert Toby was. I made sure to give her a nice bonus before referring her to a friend, and then hired an older man in her place. Toby sulked for 3 months following that. I can already hear the comments, why threaten divorce when you could just do it, and it's because I didn't want to uproot Liz. I have been saving a small chunk of the weekly grocery money since she was born and have a lot saved in a secret account. I originally planned to get the best divorce lawyer once Liz goes to college and leave him, but considering everything that happened these past few hours, I may need to move my plans up. I realized I was basically groomed not long after Toby began exhibiting that problematic behavior, and I think fetishizing exotic women is hereditary, as my husband is white and I am Latina. Most of the community knows I was groomed, so I have a lot of friends in the neighborhood because of it. They serve as my eyes, and it keeps Toby in check while in public, something that he makes clear annoys him. Anyway, our Needbor recently had his prior exchange student come back for a visit, he hosted a few years back. For the sake of the post, I will call her Kimmy. Kimmy is incredibly bright and happy, she's always smiling and waving at people in the street. This would be all fine and dandy if she hadn't done so to Toby, who she caught coming back from hanging out with friends. She was on my neighbor's front porch, having tea with my neighbor's wife, when they caught each other's eyes. To be honest, Toby was smitten, but I didn't trust it. I noticed he and Kimmy would talk for hours on the porch the following week. And we even had her over for tea a few times over the course of that week. Liz absolutely adores her, and the two would talk about fashion and the newest anime and manhwas. I have no idea if I spelt that right, but the Korean version of manga. Fast forward to 2 days ago and we're having tea with Kimmy, my neighbor's wife, and Kimmy asked if she could possibly date Toby, and both the neighbor's wife and I froze up. I put down my cup and I was blunt. I told her Toby was a lot like his father in the fact that he doesn't see women as a gentleman should. I brought up the Asian maid, and told her Toby may look at her the same way, even if he doesn't seem to right now. I then explained my husband was the same way, love bombing and cherishing me, and I realized too late the kind of man he was. My neighbor's wife cut in, saying that she knows I had tried to set Toby straight, but some nature is too strong to change. I then finished saying that if she did decide to date Toby, I would be honored. I also informed her I'd have her back if Toby ever tried to pull anything shady, and so would most of the neighborhood. Kimmy silently nodded, seemingly understanding. Now, Kimmy is ignoring Toby. She came over this morning to pick up Liz for a shopping day, and Toby tried to say hi. But, she just ignored him and told me goodbye before Liz shut the door. Toby mumbled a slur while pouting, and I had enough. I rolled my eyes and said something along the lines of, "And that's why I warned her about you." I honestly didn't mean to slip up, but I was exhausted from not sleeping. I have chronic migraines. Toby looked at me, and it looked like heartbreak. But, I looked at him straight in the eyes and told him, "I tried to make you a gentleman, but you and your father kept acting like perverted asses. If you want to blame anybody, blame your father. He allowed you to become this way." Toby stormed to his room and I got a text from my husband an hour later, asking why I would sabotage my own son like that. I texted back basically the same thing, that I had enough of Toby looking at women like objects and that if he had been a good father, I wouldn't view my son as a pervert. We had a chance to fix his behavior, but he enabled him. My husband is now furious with me, and Toby has yet to leave his room. Liz and Kimmy are still out, and I texted my neighbor's wife to ask if the two can sleep over at her place since I have a feeling my husband is already going to start a fight with me. The neighbor offered to come over and act as a mediator and shield. He's a big guy, and I took him up at that offer. I'm shaking, I'm scared, and I probably imploded my marriage. All because I warned a very kind girl about the kind of boy my son is. I feel like I'm about to throw up. I have no idea what my husband is going to do or say. All I know is he's mad, Toby is mad, but Liz and Kimmy are safe. My neighbor said he's going to be over before my husband gets home, and I honestly am left wondering if what I did is actually for the best. Aita for warning an exchange student about my son and ruining my marriage. Stories number 32. Aita for staying in bed while my boyfriend's family surprise visits. My boyfriend and I were relaxing at home after a long day. It was 10 p.m. and I was already in bed for a migraine. It's been a tough week for me because of D&C procedure I had after a very painful pregnancy and miscarriage. My husband was also about to go to bed since he worked all day and was tired too. He gets a surprise call from his mother who said she was on her way to the house to give us something and she's with her sister. My boyfriend became upset. He told her that it wasn't a good time as we are already in bed. It's not out of character for her to just do things so randomly and spur of the moment. She's not a planner and always sucks people into her chaos. He's frustrated because he knows I'm tired and not feeling well and said, "Well, I really want you to meet my one aunt." I said yeah, I would like to meet her too, but I don't feel good and it's my fault they decided to come. So he gets upset and I assume it's over his mom and I try to calm him down by asking him to just entertain her for a little while but to please keep the noise down and not smoke inside the house as it will just make my headache worse. He then flips on me somewhere and I'm the bad guy for not even saying hi. So they come and they are loud. The garage doors are going. The dog is going. I can't sleep and I'm getting really angry. I called my husband when they were all in the basement under our bedroom and I said I appreciated her brining us stuff but it's really late and I need to sleep. Then this morning he's ignoring me and when I ask what's wrong he's telling me I'm rude for not even saying hi to them when they came. I think it was rude of them to show up so unannounced and to disregard how I'm feeling after what I just been through. Am I the asshole for not saying hello? Stories number 33. Am I the asshole for messaging my husband's mistress husband? Backstory, my husband, 29, let's call him Adam, and I, 30, have been married for 4 years. 2 years ago I found a text message exchange between him and a coworker, let's call her Hannah, that were going on for months behind my back. At the time, they weren't incredibly incriminating. It clearly showed a mutual friendship that could be progressing to more. I expressed my discomfort to Adam not for the friendship, but for keep it a secret. If it didn't mean anything, why wouldn't he tell me? He assured me that the only reason he didn't tell me was because he knew I'd react like that. He said she was married, let's call her husband Joe, and they were just work friends. I asked that he limit his contact with her and be more open with me. They continued to be friends. Periodically I would remind Adam that I was uncomfortable with their friendship when she would keep popping up in all of his stories from work, but he would brush it off and assure me that I was overreacting. Well, 3 months ago I came home from work and he told me that he had feelings for her, not a big shocker, and don't worry I've already filed for divorce. He said Hannah was separating from her husband, Joe, and she made a couple of comments to him that made him feel uncomfortable, but then made him question their connection as well. Comments like, "Do you think we're too close? I wish I met you before I met my husband. I've always found you attractive." Etc. He realized he cared for her, but he wanted to tell his wife because he did not like keeping it from me. Adam assured me they were never physical, and he sobbed about how I deserved better, of course he wanted to be with me, yada yada. I naively said I'd work on it, and that lasted all of 3 weeks. Within the second week, Adam had a full breakdown questioning what it all meant. I wrote Hannah a letter which I had Adam give to her. I had no other way of reaching her, expressing that I am a real person that both of them have hurt. I said I contemplated telling her husband, but I held myself back because I did not know if that would put her in harm's way. He told me that she was scared I would tell her husband because she didn't know what he would do. I said she should be. Some time went by and I found that he was still talking with her. He said he did not want to stop talking to her. I said I think he should leave for the weekend. He went to his parents' house over the weekend, and there was severe weather at our house. Picture me locked in a laundry room with 2 dogs and 2 cats. Of course, Adam and I were texting. He was watching the weather and hoped we were safe. He comes back home the next morning before work. While he was outside with the dogs, I checked his phone. Yes, I know that was bad. I found that the prior night he was also texting Hannah. Their conversation included her saying he was so cute and asking about what they would do for their first date. He responded with a couple of suggestions for activities they could do. She loved it. Blah blah blah. Again, I'm divorcing already. When I found the messages, my heart sank. He came back in from outside and I told him that I wanted a divorce. I told him what I saw and that he has lost all decision-making power in our relationship. It was up to me now. Here's where I'm not sure if I'm the asshole. I went to work and got started on handcrafting a few messages. I sent his parents a text informing him of what he was doing under their roof. I sent his brother a message that said Adam might need a place to stay. I sent Joe an email informing him of their emotional affair with as many specifics as I could remember about her specific comments, and I told him that if I found out any harm came to Hannah as a result of my message I would personally report him. I then sent Hannah a long email that acknowledged my pain, informed her that up until this morning, Adam was still telling me he would do couples counseling, which was leading her on, that I reached out to her husband, I copied and pasted my message to him in my email to her, and that I did not want to hear from her. Adam fully freaked out. He said I was compromising people's jobs. I emailed Hannah on her work email, but like she was doing what she was doing at work, so why is she ashamed when it's written down, I'm blowing up everything, how could I? Etc. I got a call from his mom berating me, saying that if any harm came to her son, it would be on me. She said I would have to live with myself. I simply apologized for upsetting her and blocked her number. The way I'm telling you, I didn't even raise my voice. I felt like telling him I would report him would deter any potential harm. I also thought that including what I sent to him in my message to her was a courtesy to prepare her for anything he might do. I also am finding it hard to take the responsibility of a potential violent act that I verbally discouraged and warned her about. I also warned them both that I was considering tell Joe, not because I wanted to punish them, but just because he had a right to know. 3 of the 4 people in the situation were well aware of the inappropriate conduct, and Joe was just hanging out and hoping for a reconciliation. I'm finding it tough to believe what Adam's mom said, but am I the asshole for messaging my husband's mistress husband? Stories number 34. No drinks at your desk. Fine, but don't expect me to answer the phones. Used to work reception at a small insurance office in the UK. Policy was no food or drink at the front desk, fair enough. But one summer, we had a heat wave and no air con. I brought a water bottle and discreetly kept it behind the monitor. One day, the manager spots it and tells me, absolutely no drinks at the desk. Doesn't matter if it's hot, rules are rules. I asked, even water? And she said yes. So the next day, I don't bring any. By 2 p.m., I'm dizzy and dehydrated. I walk away from the desk and sit in the break room to drink water. Manager comes in and asks why I'm not at the desk. I reminded her that she said no drinks at the desk. I needed water, so I had to leave. Phones start ringing off the hook and clients are standing around waiting. I was told to use common sense after that and my water bottle stayed. Stories number 35. Parents need to stop being terrible and do a better job parenting their children. So my wife was in the local Target today with my 14-year-old daughter and my 6-month-old who was in the shopping cart. They had a kid's birthday party to go to at 3 p.m. so they were in the children's toy aisle looking for a present. As they're looking for a toy, these 3 young kids, probably between the ages of 8 and 10, were running up and down the aisles, screaming, causing chaos, knocking things off the shelves, throwing things at each other and customers, etc. Well, I guess the little A*holes decided it would be funny to pick something up and throw it at my family. They picked up one of those Cards Against Humanity card boxes and threw it towards my wife and daughters. The box came within inches of my 6-month-old's head, soaring past her. She got scared and started crying her head off. My wife can have a bit of a temper sometimes, so she exploded, face fuming red, screaming at the top of her lungs, and chased these kids down the aisle. I guess they didn't think anyone would chase them because they screamed and ran down the aisle as fast as she could. She caught up to them and they were screaming it wasn't them, and one of the kids collapsed and burst into tears. My wife spent the next 5 minutes screaming at them so loud that people all the way in the front of the store were coming to the back to see what was going on. She said a lot of things to them I won't repeat here, but yeah. Target security showed up and the police officer they have on duty. They asked my wife if she wanted the kids arrested and she said no, she just wants them out of the store. So they dragged the kids out of the store. But they kept trying to sneak back in after. The kids don't have parents with them. They're by themselves in the store running amok because it's the weekend. I wasn't there. This was all told to me over the phone by my distraught wife about 45 minutes ago. I'm so angry though I can't calm down. I've been trying for the last 45 minutes. My heart is racing and I'm seeing red. I'm thinking really, really bad thoughts too. I just wish parents would be more responsible with their kids today and not just let them run around like crazy. Stories number 36. You want your coffee exactly like last time? Alright, coming right up. I used to work at a cozy little cafe, one of those places where the regulars act like they own the joint. We had this one bloke, maybe mid-50s, always in a pressed suit, always rushing, always rude. Every time he ordered, he would go, flat white, same as last time. Don't mess it up this time. And every time, we ask for clarification he'll roll his eyes and ask us to figure it out. It's not hard. You made it right once. Safe to say we were all tired. One day, I had just had it. He stormed in barking the same order. Flat white, same as last time, so I gave him exactly what he had last time or rather, what he ordered last. A decaf oat milk cappuccino with caramel drizzle, he had ordered it once by mistake and hated it. Handed it to him with a chipper, here you go, exactly like last time. He took one sip, paused, and just said, what the hell is this? I smiled and said, your exact order from last time, you said not to mess it up. He threw a $5 on the counter and stormed out. Never used that line again and was never rude worth it. Stories number 37. Aita for the way I have chosen to deal with my friends wanting to split a dinner bill. I wrote a post a couple of years ago about how my friends treated me like an ATM when it was time to pay the bill. It got better for a while and we all agreed that we would pay our own bills. That is reasonable. I made an effort to always pick restaurants that were in their price range when it was my turn to pick. I also continued to just order a drink or two and my meal with no extras. My job is fairly sedentary so I watch what I eat. 6 months ago one of the guys got married and his wife always joins us when we go out. She has become friendly with the woman I'm seeing so sometimes we go out on double dates without the rest of the friend group. The thing is she also likes to split the bill, it's just easier. Last time we went out I asked my girlfriend to drive. I ordered an old-fashioned with very good bourbon. Whenever I finished it I would get another. I didn't get sloppy but it would have been very illegal for me to drive. Before the bill came I said we should each pay our own bill but his wife said that was silly and we should split it. My drinks alone were about 1/3 of the bill. It was very good bourbon. She started backtracking when the bill came. She said she didn't realize the split was that lopsided. I was fine with it and agreed that we should each just pay our own. My girlfriend said I was an asshole for running up the bill just to make a point. I said that I wasn't the one trying to change the way we did things just to make life easy. Restaurants absolutely have the ability to split bills with ease. So am I a dick for doing this? Stories number 38. My girlfriend says I'm the reason she got taken to hospital. So for context, my girlfriend and I attended a wedding last night. The wedding was in this very nice and fancy venue which hosted around 150 people. It was her cousin being married and we came over to her home country for this event. We had been talking about this wedding for quite some time and the wedding really lived up to the hype. We had a great time, and had been drinking since we arrived at 5 p.m. I don't speak her family's language, apart from basic phrases, so I was quite nervous and admittedly I drank to ease myself into this wedding. I get bad anxiety with important things, and I had heavy breathing in the night that felt like a panic attack way after I stopped drinking. By the time 1 a.m. came I felt drunk. I didn't embarrass myself or fall over as from talking to her family they didn't say I was drunk but tipsy, so I stopped drinking anyway and just sipped on water till 4 a.m., when we left. My girlfriend had been drinking the whole night and when we left the venue we were still drunk but by no means bad. When we got home my girlfriend was getting sick and couldn't really sleep. We woke up this morning to her telling me she thinks she has food poisoning and she's calling an ambulance. I got worried and when they arrived they gave her an injection and told her that she had no fever or stomach pain, meaning it wasn't food poisoning. She now says the reason that she was sick and vomiting was because she was worried about me the whole night and that alcohol wasn't to blame for her feeling this way but me. She hadn't eaten much the day of the wedding as she wanted to look nice in her new dress. She said I ruined her night because we had to go for a walk at 3:30 a.m. because she said I needed it. It just seems like she's avoiding accountability and I'm wondering honestly am I really to blame? Edit. The injection was a saline solution. Also to add, I just found out she took painkillers the day of the wedding for her headache and still chose to drink alcohol. How should I talk to her about this? Stories number 39. Husband says I can't be added to the deed of the house. Not sure if this is the place to post or if there's a better forum to ask this. When my husband and I bought our house, I'd gone back to school and wasn't working, and we weren't married yet. Only his name was on the mortgage, but I paid 50% of the down payment and have paid 1/2 of every mortgage payment and 1/2 of all bills on the house from 2016, year bought, 2024. In 2023 my husband was fired from his job, and since then, for almost 2 years I have paid 100% of all bills and spending for that matter. I've also single-handedly funded about $40,000 in renovations. We've been married 3 years now, and I've repeatedly asked that I get my name on the house some way. He said my name can't go on the house because we'd lose our interest rate. I've said many times my name could go on the deed, on a trust, something, so that I'm not screwed if something were to happen. He refuses and just says it's not possible. Before the "you're an idiot" comments come, I already know I am. Without going into it, I got into this relationship at a young age with someone much older than me who uses things against me, like the house, to control me. Just wondering what my options are. Stories number 40. No, I cannot mind your stuff. A couple of years ago, pre-COVID-19, my wife and I used to live in Seattle and get weekend treats and coffee at Starbucks Reserve, which is a fancy-looking Starbucks with a bar and artisanal-looking decor that was really popular with tourists. One Sunday we were sipping coffee at one of those giant long tables with benches that people are meant to share. We are crammed next to tourists when suddenly a content creator type of girl appears out of nowhere with a portable ring light, the latest iPhone and a MacBook Pro. She asks me and my wife to move so she can sit. No please, no reason, and she didn't even have a drink or food. We politely decline and point out that another person is leaving the table next to us. She takes their seat and tries to start filming a live stream, but is having trouble extending her arm without hitting someone across the table, and it's so loud in there it's impossible to hear. She flags down a passing worker and asks them if they can do anything about the noise. The worker patiently explains it's a popular tourist spot, but the bar where they serve alcoholic drinks is quieter since you need ID, and it was a really small cordoned off space. Content creator puts her MacBook Pro down on the table, gets up to go to the bar and says to my wife and I, "Mind my laptop." It wasn't even a question, there was no please or thank you. I calmly replied, "No," while looking her in the eye. She looked at me completely incredulous, like I'd grown 2 heads, and said, "But it's the latest MacBook. It might get stolen." I replied, "So you should take it with you." She was fuming, but no one else at the table was speaking English, so she couldn't ask anyone else, and so she picked up her laptop and headed to the bar muttering about how mean people were. The entitlement still makes me pause in wonder many years later. Stories number 41. I smoked KFC mash and gravy and may have ruined my palate forever. This happened 9 days ago and I can't tell anyone in my life about it. I had a bit of a rough week at work. On Wednesday, I found an old stash of weed I stocked away months ago and forgot about. Not a huge amount, but probably enough to get the job done for a weekend, probably less. I was determined to hold off until Friday and give myself a reward for sticking it out with so much stress at work. I work until quite late and only got home at about 2000 hours on Friday. Grabbed myself a nice KFC special on the way home. I didn't see that it included a mash and gravy and just put the bag on the seat, as I don't generally drive like a crazy person. I make it home with the bag still in one piece. My dog jumps into the car, which he never does, and after a bit of a weird scuffle, the bag eventually falls on the passenger side floor. I don't think anything of it really, except for mild annoyance. I grab the bag, go inside and put it on my bed, I know, while I get dressed. I eagerly dug out the bud and slammed it into my crusher as these things tend to go. I unscrew the top and produced the glorious, somewhat old, bud, ready to be rolled into a fatty. I turned around and saw that a huge brown puddle appeared on my bed, the still scathing hot mash and gravy. I accidentally dropped the fucking crusher with the weed into the puddle in a panic. Horrified, I start trying to salvage what I can from the hot sticky puddle, that I can't even comprehend at that point, forming on my bed. Long story short, I did my darndest and rolled the most rancid joint of all time. I got most of it, I think. I couldn't let them win. I smoked the whole damn thing. It was horrific and pretty difficult to smoke for obvious reasons. 9 days later, everything tastes like KFC mash and gravy. My cornflakes, my meatball sandwich, my sushi, my tomato sauce, you name it. Even Greek yogurt. Water is my only reprieve from this madness. TLDR, I accidentally dropped a crusher full of weed into a pile of KFC mash and gravy. I still rolled a joint with what I could salvage and smoked it all with a lot of difficulty. 9 days later, everything I eat tastes like KFC mash and gravy. Stories number 42. AITJ for calling my boyfriend out for cheating with a married woman. So I found out last week that my boyfriend has been sleeping with a married woman and not just a one-time thing. This has been going on for months. He admitted it after I confronted him, and his excuse: she's in a toxic marriage and I was helping her feel something again. Like seriously, I was shocked but also kind of disgusted. He didn't even seem that guilty, more like defensive. He told me I was being too dramatic and that I don't understand adult relationships. He even said that if I really loved him, I'd be more supportive of his emotional journey. I almost laughed. So I told him he's not just a cheater, he's helping ruin someone else's marriage and dragging me into it. He got pissed and said I was being immature and selfish. That I made this harder than it had to be by freaking out, instead of trying to understand the bigger picture. I ended things right after that conversation. But now some of our mutual friends are saying I overreacted, and that the woman he was seeing was in a miserable marriage anyway, so it's not like he broke up some fairy tale love story. Now I'm wondering, did I overreact? Am I the jerk for not trying to understand where he was coming